All right, I believe we're live. Let me just double check, make sure everything's working here. Okay, it looks like we're good. All right, so the NFL Divisional Round is over for the 2020 playoffs, and we're on to the conference championships. And I wonder how many people still haven't recognized that the NFL is fixed. No different than the WWE. And again, everyone should have caught on to that when Andrew Luck retired this offseason on Vince McMahon's birthday, the CEO of the WWE. Vince McMahon has the new XFL league. Andrew Luck's father had just become the CEO of the XFL. Houston had just named their XFL team. If you're not aware, Andrew Luck and his father both have connections to Houston. Oliver Luck, the father, played for the Houston Oilers, who are now the Tennessee Titans. And Andrew Luck played high school ball in Houston and talked a lot about Houston and Andrew Luck over the years. We're talking about Gematria. Houston equals 112 in this study. Go back a few years ago when Deshaun Watson was ruled out for the season on November 2nd and Andrew Luck was announced to be on the shelf for the whole year that same day. Deshaun Watson playing in Houston, Andrew Luck from Houston, plus Andrew Luck's name equals 112 like Houston. Think about today's game. Houston gives up the huge lead, and we'll talk about that because it's a tribute to Super Bowl 51 where the Patriots had the huge comeback over the Falcons. But anyway, here, we'll just get to all of it. So these are all the things we're going to talk about in this. The Julian Edelman story today, how this is hazing, shaming, a ritual for him getting to be the MVP in the last rigged Super Bowl by the numbers, which again we called last year. Last year we did a great job calling the Super Bowl. We had it right, Patriots over Rams before the season began. This year's been a challenge, and we'll talk about why. We're going to talk about this recent story, the death of the real coach who was played by Denzel Washington in the film Remember the Titans. That story came December 18th. If you missed me cover that story, we talked about how his name equaled 52. He died on his 52nd day of his age. Remember the Titans. Titans trying to make it into the playoffs at that point, which they did, and now we're on a roll, knocking off the defending champions. And, of course, the best team in the league this year in the regular season, the Baltimore Ravens. And keep in mind, one of the big NFL stories before this season began were the remarks of the coach of the Titans, who used to play for the Patriots not that long ago, Mike Vrabel. He said that to win the Super Bowl this year, he would cut off his penis. Those were his words. And his team, going further than they've gone in a long time. Second-year coach. Another story we're going to talk about today. You might recall the first story I covered way back before the NFL season began, the first story that I saw that was synced with this NFL season. It was about a man in an Aaron Rodgers jersey shooting a fireman. J.J. Watt got involved and donated money to the family of that firefighter. And we decoded this summer and said, wow, look at that. It's synced up with the first preseason game of the season between the Texans and the Patriots. They played each other first game of the preseason, August 8th. And then we talked about how it was also synced up with the start of the season with the Bears game. So anyway, fast forward to January 12th, 2020. On this day, both the Texans are playing and the Packers. And they were the two teams that were connected through this Mitch Lundgaard story as we covered this past spring. So, from May 15th, the day that Mitch Lundgaard was reportedly killed, to January 12th, the day that the Packers and Texans had these very similar games with different outcomes. The Texans got off to a huge lead to start the game and ended up losing. The Packers got off to a huge lead to start the game and hung on to win, covering the Vegas 4.5-point spread, winning by 5, the mockery. But, and we're going to talk about the scores of the games this weekend. But anyway, we're going to talk about that, how Mitch Lundgaard equals 243. He connected the Packers and Texans. You get this symbolic game January 12th, 243 days later, which is not an arbitrary number. The U.S. is 243 years old. 243 has a relationship with 54 in astrology through the planet Venus. It's the year of Super Bowl 54. Not an arbitrary number. The coach of the Packers this year, the rookie coach, his name's 243. So anyway, we'll talk more about that. And recall recently there was the story of the 49ers' brother being stabbed in Nashville, where the Tennessee Titans are from. there's some riddle here that I still haven't been able to completely figure out. I'm not saying this is going to be the Super Bowl, but if it ended up being the 49ers and the Titans, if that was the Super Bowl, don't forget the death of that coach from Remember the Titans, Herman Boone, whose name equaled 52, who died on his 52nd day of his age. Because if it was the Titans and the Niners, and I don't see the historical relevance to that. I'm probably missing something if that does end up being the Super Bowl. But what I'm going to say is if the 49ers were to lose in a Super Bowl, they would become 5-2, and Tennessee equals 52. Tennessee also equals 137, and if they won the Super Bowl, they would be 13-7, like 137, the 33rd prime. Super Bowl on February 2nd, the 33rd day of the year. Tennessee 137, the 33rd prime. It's not out of the question. This story right here, I got time to think about it. The Super Bowl is still days away, but there's some reason this story happened. The 49er-related stabbing in the home of the Titans. Again, this NFL season's been so tough because there's been so many stories that have been clearly connected in the NFL. It's like more stories than ever. So, again, we've been talking about since spring. This was the first one we talked about. If you follow me on Patreon, we've probably talked about 20 other stories in the media that have clearly been synced up with this NFL season. Never seen it, but it's made things really confusing. Anyway, talk more about this. And I'm actually going to start right here. The Seahawks season ended today. I live in Washington State. I know the morale of the entire state's down because, this state loves their football. You go out on a Seahawks day or any other day. This country, or this part of the country, loves their Seahawks jerseys. I went to 2 grocery stores today. I had to make 2 stops. I would say at least 50% of the people, at least, and that's being conservative, were in Seahawks jerseys. And I always just think, God, it's so sad to wear the name of somebody else on your back, especially when it's an overpaid asshole who sells you out in the biggest moments, like Russell Wilson did. And Russell Wilson's the most popular jersey there is up here. Never forget, Russell Wilson against the Patriots. Hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, be a Super Bowl champion. No one stopped Lynch for a yard all season. Seahawks haven't passed at the goal line all season. That's not an exaggeration. That's a fact. They hadn't passed at the 1-yard line all season. They just handed off to Lynch and scored all year. They had time. They had a timeout. Perfect time to try to run the ball. And just like the 49ers Ravens Super Bowl II, where Frank Gore ran down the field like nothing through the second half, and then they couldn't punch it in the goal line. But anyway, the Seahawks ending. Go back and look at the box score. Seahawks Patriots. Russell Wilson's 21st pass gets intercepted by number 21. He goes down to the ground with 21 seconds left. The down was 2nd and 1. The date was 2-1. When you write out 21 as a word, it sums to 42, like how the Seahawks are from the 42nd state, like how Brady became 4-2 in Super Bowls. Anyway, that was a moment that sunk the hearts of Seahawks fans. And once upon a time, the Seahawks sunk the hearts of Saints fans when the Saints were the top seed playing the lowly seed Seahawks, who made it into the playoffs 7-9, and then Marshawn Lynch had a great run, one of the NFL's greatest moments they rank it as, helping the Seahawks beat the Saints to beat this top-seeded team as a bottom dweller who had a losing record all year in the playoffs. So Seahawks fans will remember this from earlier this season, when the Saints, who just lost Drew Brees the week before in the fake injury, the week before Teddy Bridgewater starting, Seahawks become, the favorite to win the game. We knew on Patreon that it was easy to see that the Saints were going to win this game even with Bridgewater, which they did. But the turning point of the game was one of these psychological mind fucks for the fan. Just like how today's games are psychological mind fucks. Huge leads, give up the lead, lose the game, nearly lose the game. All of this is meant to fuck with the emotions of a human being, and it is all rigged and scripted theater, no different than the WWE. Been proving that for years. But anyway, this highlight from this game. So what I'm showing you is a game from this year, 2019, the Saints at the Seahawks. And anyone who watched the game knows exactly how this went down. You can go back and check the box score. They show a highlight. The score was not out of hand yet. The score just got crazy real fast. So the score is 27-13 moments after this happens, but it was a closer game because the Saints just scored a defensive touchdown. But anyway, the Seahawks, they show the highlight of Marshawn Lynch's great run against the Saints. It's this great moment. And as soon as that highlight ends, and I mean as soon, like perfect editing, as soon as the highlight ends, the ball's just being snapped from Russell Wilson to the running back. I believe it was Carson who was running at the time. I might be mistaken because they use a few running backs. I think it was Carson. But Carson gets the ball, if I'm not mistaken, and he runs the ball 33 yards. But at the end of the 33-yard run, he gets the ball punched out. Saints pick it up, run it back for a touchdown. So the fan watching on TV just relived one of the greatest Seahawks moments. Then out of the commercial, boom, the best run of the Seahawks season at that point. That was the longest run of the season that ended with the fumble and the deep. So you're seeing this rare running moment after this great running highlight. The score's close at the time. It's a battle. But now you've just turned over the ball and given 7 more points to the Saints when you were just moving down the field looking like maybe you were going to even up the game. And so anyway, if you had monitors and sensors hooked up to a fan and could see like their brain juice and their adrenaline and their heart rate and everything, you would just see like the massive fluctuation and the difference, and from like the euphoria to the frustration. Like, none of this is good. This is like fucking with people. Like when you have a 24-point lead and you're the underdog and you're just feeling so good. I had all these people texting me today celebrating in the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, about the Texans winning. Because I did tell people that we've been talking about how the Chiefs could be the team in the AFC all year, but there was a riddle this weekend for the Texans to win. There was a lot of value if they upset. So, there was a riddle there. I told people they could think about it if they wanted to take the risk. Chiefs could very well advance, but man, there were some numbers for the Texans. So anyway, there's all these people who follow me. Man, just so many texts, just so stoked about how much they're going to win on the Texans. And I didn't respond to anybody. I'm thinking, God, you guys should not be celebrating. What is it? It's still the first quarter? Yeah, they might be up 3 touchdowns, but it is still the first quarter or in the rigged NFL. But I can just imagine how all these people, and see, this is part of why I don't like doing what I'm doing. I mostly help people win at gambling. I have some bad days here and there. Haven't had my best NFL season, that's for sure. I've had my worst. But it's been a good year overall. But anyway, I just hate, I don't like gambling because it's part of this whole sick, rigged, corrupt system. And yeah, we're trying to take advantage of it and put the rigging back on them. But even still, sometimes it's tricky. So all these guys, though, today, man, they got themselves so stoked. They'd already won in the first quarter. And, I didn't hear any text message after they lost. All these people I just know are feeling like shit, right? And just for people who don't even gamble, it's the same fucking thing, because you're just feeling so, how are we going to lose? We're up 24 points. And then you get your fucking ass kicked, 51-31. It's just like the rigged Super Bowl that the Houston Texans hosted. Houston Texans equals 51. They hosted Super Bowl 51. Divisional equals 51. It was the number of the weekend in all the games. Tannehill got his 51st win, upsetting the Ravens. The 49ers became 5-1 versus the Vikings. 51 points in the Houston Texans-Chiefs game, and 51 combined points in the Seahawks game, which we'll talk more about all of it. But, it's like even trying to beat this beast system, which you can, it takes a lot of hard work, it's like, God, it's better to just not be involved with it. Like, I can't stand to watch any of these games. The only reason I even know anything about what happened in the games is just from while working, keeping in the background the scores of the games, and also getting the feedback from the people who are texting me about what's going on. But, anyway, to talk about today's mindfuck games, which they were, the Chiefs comeback in the WWE NFL. Think about Mahomes doing his commercials next to Rodgers, who does the whole belt thing, the WWE belt thing. And then the Packers game being very similar. Again, it's all perfectly scripted theater, so let's just go through it. Let's start with Julian Edelman. Let's go to Julian Edelman being the face of the news on January 12th on this big NFL Sunday. Julian Edelman arrested in Beverly Hills. Probably just got done shooting his latest commercial or advertisement/movie. That's what most Hollywood movies are now, aren't they? It's like more like advertisements and product placement and just like nothing worth listening to or consuming. It's just, we live in the age of absolute garbage. Just everything is just more fucking bullshit than it's ever been. Sports have never been dumber. Like, what was this past baseball season? The season of the team's up 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th and can't hang on to it because no one can close the fucking game all of a sudden? Because we have a new MLB commissioner who wants more runs. All of a sudden, nobody knows how to pitch anymore. You can't rig baseball. You can't rig sports. I mean, the people who say this shit, it's like, have you ever crawled out from under your rock where you must just have sports on and nothing else? Why don't you pick up a history book and see how long sports have been rigged for? Going back to the time of Rome. You know? It's just, it's a joke. And if you can't see that sports are a joke, it really means you're in a fucking coma. So work on that first of all. But if you can't see that sports are rigged, and you actually pay attention to the stuff I'm about to show you, the stuff that's caused us to, dominate the world of rigged sports. A lot of people won a ton of money on the World Series this year, even though I had a rough baseball season too, but I figured out the World Series, who was going to beat who, and likely in Game 7, Nationals over Astros. And we won huge on that because we got the odds when it was good, and then when the Nationals were down by 2 games, down 3-2, and had to play 2 in Houston, there was huge odds for them to come back and win. So it was like we won twice huge, understanding this rigged system. And I even gave you guys that Nationals-Astros thing for free on my main news channel. But anyway, this code of letters and numbers, the reason that things are done this way, it's deep, but the shallow version is Freemasonry controls the world of sports and entertainment and media. Freemasonry is based in Kabbalah. Kabbalah says God controls and created the world with letters, numbers, and words. So the people who are playing God are using this Kabbalistic code, if you will. And you can see it so clearly when you just apply it. You write out the name Julian Edelman with the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. Notice, well, just let me finish real quick. Up to Z, the 26th letter is 26, just using the alphabetic order as numbers. If you write out Julian Edelman, his name sums to 121. Square root of 11, like his jersey number, 11 men on the field, the master number. But today, January 12th, can be written 12/1. Depends on where you are in the world. The majority of the world writes it that way. Here in the U.S., we do things backwards. We write it 1/12, which is also important. Both ways is important, but 12/1, Julian Edelman, he's the news story today. Arrested in Beverly Hills. Mr. Hollywood. The NFL is Hollywood. It's athletic Hollywood with zebras keeping the real life, Hollywood play theatrical performance in line. That's what the NFL is. Wearing that black and white like those Masonic lodges. But anyway, Masonry credited with American football. Walter Camp, just like baseball's credited with Freemasonry. Abner Doubleday. Anyway, Julian Edelman, what a day for his news. Again, 121 as the square root of 11, his jersey number. Remember, he was the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. Little Julian Edelman, who's always wide open, with Tom Brady, who always has all day in the pocket. People can't see through this rigged crap. But anyway, from the Super Bowl, where Julian Edelman became the first Jewish MVP, to this story in Hollywood, which, if you listen to Alex Jones, you think is run by China. If you don't live under a rock, you know who runs Hollywood. It's not China, like Alex Jones says. It's the same people who practice Kabbalah. It's the same people who release their movies by this code. But anyway, 49 weeks from the Super Bowl to this announcement. Notice Super Bowl equals 49. So does NFL, so does America, so does Scottish. This is a special number. Special team in the NFL, the 49ers, aren't they? San Francisco equals 50. Once upon a time, they were 5-0 in Super Bowls. They hosted Super Bowl 50. Had that one in October. Broncos over Panthers. Anyway, 49 weeks. This is not an arbitrary number. It connects to the Super Bowl. Again, we're coming up on Super Bowl 54. And notice up here, Edelman's name also has that 54 Gematria. So there's probably something more to think about here that I don't know yet. It's probably a riddle for the upcoming Super Bowl as well as a tribute to the last, which we're getting to. So again, 343 days since he was MVP. And Super Bowl most valuable player equals 108, like the 108 game balls for the Super Bowl, which we'll talk more about. Edelman won it last year, 108 days from his birthday. But anyway, Super Bowl has the value of 49, also has the value of 112. This news story is coming January 12th. And if you're new here, again, 4 base ciphers, you got to know them all. You got to know them all to see them. Super Bowl equals 131 with the alphabetic order. Very special number, comes up again and again. Doesn't normally burn me, but did burn me this year. I'd been getting on the Ravens bandwagon from around the time of week 4, and I noticed it was possible that, if Harbaugh had the right amount of wins, he could finish the season with 131. Once he got to the playoffs, if he would have won these 3 playoff games in a row, he would have got his 131st win. And this number shows up all the time with sports championships. but didn't work out this year. At least not for Harbaugh. Super Bowl's also 41. Last year, the reason we had Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl is because he was 41 years old after losing to the Eagles, who scored 41 points. 41's the 13th prime. The Eagles-Patriots game was a rematch of 13 years earlier. Last year, the winner of the Super Bowl scored 13 points. But just understand, all these numbers are important. Today's story, like for example, the 131, Super Bowl... hold on, where did I put it? We gotta go down further. Julian Edelman, his birthday this year, May 22nd. It's 131 days from the story, right? So it's 131 days from Edelman's birthday. Again, coming on this date that can be written 1/12. It's 49 weeks after the last Super Bowl. And then 41's the 13th prime. LA's 13. He's arrested in Beverly Hills, so Los Angeles. LA also equals 41. And, again, who did they beat in the Super Bowl last year? LA, the Patriots, where he was Super Bowl MVP. So you can just see how perfect this ritual is. And again, this is another shining example of why having the ciphers forwards and backwards, which is not the system I made up, it's the system I decoded and have proven for years how it works, just like this. Anyway, you can see how all of the values are used in this ritual. And again, just with regards to 49, NFL, America, Scottish, this nation founded by Scottish Rite Freemasons, George Washington, a Scottish Rite Freemason, the nation's capital named after Washington. Just notice America, Scottish, Washington, all 49 like NFL. The Masons, they're real big on Pythagoras. He's considered to have one of the first secret societies of the world that taught about knowledge and mathematics. Pythagoras, 49. Mathematics equals 112 and 49. The Masons logo, the compass with the square with the capital G. The capital G and the instruments of geometry and mathematics, that's what the G is about, geometry. Gematria means geometry and language. That's the practice of coding numbers into words, which is a Masonic language. Again, just using the alphabetic order. Masonic 74, English is 74, Gematria is 74, Occult 74, Jewish is 74. Again, this comes from Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. Holidays 74, Independence Day 74. Think about it, 7-4. Anyway, the Scottish Rite compass out of France is set at 47 degrees in tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid. France equals 47, so does DC, so does government, so does authority, so does Republican, so does Democrat. DC, the Scottish Rite city, was laid out by the French Scottish Rite Freemason L'Enfant. And president equals 47, White House 47. The word foundation equals 47. The 47 degrees, again, are in tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid, which is about how to establish foundation for a structure. The first Super Bowl season, where the Packers, with the capital G on their helmet, beat the Chiefs. That was the 47th season of the NFL. Super Bowl I was the 47th season of the NFL. Not arbitrary. Doing it by the code. Now check this out. Euclid. This is in tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid, who was a Greek mathematician, a geometer. Euclid equals 108. Notice geometry with the alphabetic order and reverse alphabetic order is 108. And notice that for every Super Bowl, they make 108 footballs. Just like on an American baseball, there's 108 double stitches, and Major League equals 108. In the year the Cubs won the World Series, in the 112th World Series, mathematics 112, geometry 108, Major League 108. In that year, they broke the 108-year drought. And consider Chicago, the tallest building. The Freemasons used to be the builders. The tallest building in Chicago, Willis Tower, is 108 stories tall. 108 double stitches means 216 stitches. 216, who did Chicago beat in the World Series? Cleveland, the 216 area code. And if you're going, well, where does 108 come from? Understand, all of these numbers have symbolism. It's a lot to explain. 108 in geometry has everything to do with the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon. They say that the diameter of the Sun is 108 Earths across. So 108 Earths side by side is how wide the Sun is. And they say the diameter of the Earth is 108 moons side by side. I haven't talked about this for a moment. I might be getting part of that backwards. No, I'm pretty sure that's right, though. But also they say that from the Earth to the Sun, that's 108. I got to revisit. Is it 108 suns? I think it's 108 suns side by side is the distance from the Earth to the Sun. If it's not that, it's 108 Earths, but I think it's 108 suns. So anyway, there's this mathematical relationship that connects the distance of the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon, and also the size of the objects. And they say that's how you get the perfect geometry for eclipses as we witness on Earth. So anyway, I'm going to go back and revisit those facts so next time I explain it is cleaner, but it's something, if I didn't say it exactly how it is, it's very close to that. So 108 Sun, Moon, Earth. Okay, so Julian Edelman getting hazed. Today has 33 date numerology. He's 33 years old. Hollywood's 33. Massachusetts is 33, home of the Patriots. Tom's 33. Think about how this is Tom's favorite receiver with the modern era of the Patriots. And today's the 12th. Tom Brady's number 12. You NFL fans who pay attention, you might recall that last year, not this season, but the season before on Sunday Night Football when Tom Brady played Aaron Rodgers, they gave a numerology lesson. You can go back and look. It's still online. You can look up the numerology lesson on 12 by Sunday Night Football, Patriots and Packers. And, of course, both quarterbacks wearing the number 12. S and F equals 12. Tom also equals 12. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have any connection to 12 besides his jersey number like Tom. But on that night where they gave the 12 numerology lesson, Tom Brady, the man with the deeper 12 connections, plus Patriots equals 37, the 12th prime. But anyway, I'm just making the point that today's the 12th of the month and you're reading about Julian Edelman, Tom Brady's receiver. And notice Tom Brady's full name is Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. From his birthday to this story is 163 days. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. 163. You know, what are the odds? And that's the 38th prime, and I forgot to put it up here. I think it's the word haze that equals 38. If it's not haze, it's hazing. I guess it's hazing. Hazing has that gematria at 38. I see that show up sometimes in these rituals, and I wonder if that's what it's about. Is it about hazing? Because all of this seems like a form of hazing. You know, you get to be the champion, you get to be the Super Bowl MVP by the numbers. Now as the next Super Bowl rolls around, you got the 54 name connection, and you're getting, like, humiliated. And, it's likely a riddle for who's to be in the game. You know, I'm having trouble connecting dots this season. I don't know why. So for people who've been following all year on Patreon, April 13th is typically the 103rd day of the year. It is a leap year this year, so it's technically the 104th day, but it's normally the 103rd day of the year. And all year we've documented just riddle after riddle after riddle with 103. It began at the start of the season. The first game was 103 days from the death of Bart Starr. Packers NFL MVP quarterback, Super Bowl I when they beat the Chiefs. He died 103 days before the Thursday night football game to start the season, Packers and Chiefs, and the Packers won 10-3 that night. Then a couple games later, Rodgers got his 103rd win of the season over the Broncos. Broncos is 103. There was something in the game before, but I forget because it went off the top of my head. I think Mahomes either became 10-3 at home or 10-3 away this season against the Broncos. And there was a million other things. Recently, the Vikings and the Saints playoff rematch in the wild card round. That was 103 weeks after the Minnesota Miracle game. It's just been 103 all throughout the season. The word Scottish equals 103 is in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. It's also the 27th prime. Miami equals 27. Again, the Super Bowl's in Miami. If the AFC were to win, they would tie the NFC with 27 Super Bowls. And one of the storylines all year has been that Mike Vrabel said he would cut off his penis to win the Super Bowl. Both the words penis and dick happen to sum to 27. So as the times get closer and closer, I just keep wondering, you know, how serious was that story? And in a way, I guess it's kind of got a sick symbolism to it, too, with all the transgender stuff. It's like the other year we were able to call Gonzaga losing to North Carolina. That was the year of the bathroom bill in the Carolinas where they took away the All-Star game. And I said, look for the Carolina teams to do well. They took away the All-Star game because North Carolina went against that legislation that was going to let the trannies use whatever bathroom they wanted. And then the national media is like, oh, that's so rude to not let the trannies use whatever bathroom they want to use. No All-Star game for you. It's like, really? I mean, do you really want to let your 10-year-old kid go into the bathroom in the mall? She's a little girl, and then in comes behind her like a male transgender. I mean, isn't that weird? No all-star game for you for that kind of logic. But anyway, that year we called that dead on, and the South Carolina Gamecocks women's team won the women's championship. And again, they referred to that team as the Lady Cocks all throughout the tournament. And I was like, okay, we've been talking about this is connected to the bathroom bill. By the way, bathroom bill equals 71, like Gonzaga Bulldogs, like March Madness, like Catholic. That year, the bracket came out on the 71st day of the year. But anyway, we knew that 71 was going to be a big theme. And North Carolina beat Gonzaga with 71 points in that tournament. Just like how the numbers we talked about this past year with Virginia winning the championship, the numbers we talked about in February with that ended up being the exact numbers in the box score, 59 and 85. I think Virginia scored 85 points on 59 shots, and those were the exact numbers coded into the lieutenant governor story where he raped a woman at Duke before Virginia played Duke, and it was all synced up with the championship date. I think it was 59 days before the championship. But anyway, college and pro, it's all done by this code. And sometimes I think there might be, as dumb as it might sound, sometimes I think could be a magical element. When I watched Virginia in the college championship, they should have been eliminated in the Elite Eight, if I remember right. There was some game where they had a miracle ending to win. I was like, how do you script that? But anyway, coming back to this, Edelman, this big ritual by the numbers, again, 131 days from his birthday on 112. Super Bowl 131, 112. It's also 49. It's 49 weeks after he was Super Bowl MVP. And just to remind people, last year it was really easy to call the Super Bowl. It was obvious it was going to be scripted around Tom Brady at 41 years old because, again, Super Bowl's 41. He just lost to the Eagles with 41 points, the 13th prime in the rematch of 13 years earlier where it was all about the flag with the 13 stripes. Remember that year we had it called at the end of September that it was going to be Patriots and Eagles. This year, haven't had that same kind of success because, man, this year's been tough. But anyway, last year was easy. 53 is a big number with the NFL. 53-man roster, 53 and 1/3 yard wide field. The shape of the football is the Vesica Pisces, which equals 53. And you had a perfect riddle with the Patriots in Los Angeles. Both 53 teams, top teams. There's a whole bunch more to it, but just remember the score last year. Only 16 points. 53 is the 16th prime. Brady got his 6th ring when you write out 6 at 16. The score was 13-3, just like the top 4 teams in the NFL this year were 13-3, just like the top 4 teams were the year of Super Bowl 52 too. Realize there's symbolism to these numbers. 13-3 score in the Super Bowl, like 133 football's 133. LA goes down with 13. NFL's 13. Tom Brady was 41. Again, 41's the 13th prime. Super Bowl's 41. LA, who they beat's 13 and 41, and 13's the 6th prime. Brady got his 6th ring. 13's also the 7th Fibonacci number. Belichick got his 7th Super Bowl ring. And he got it in the Atlanta building at age 66. His 6th championship with the Patriots, just like how Nick Saban got his 6th championship in that Atlanta building at age 66. Sony Michel. So many things. And don't forget that when Nick Saban got his 6th, it was on a 41-yard pass play from number 13, Tua, who came in and replaced, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. Number 13 throws a 41-yard touchdown to give Saban his 6th win. And I think the receiver who caught it was number 6 for Alabama. By the way, Alabama equals 13 too. Donald Trump announced that year on January 3rd he'd be going to the game. For anyone who's asking about the Clemson College Championship, I gave you guys that one back in July. Anyway, don't forget last year when Tom Brady won the Super Bowl and became 6-3 in Super Bowls, it was his 307th career game. 307's the 63rd prime. 63rd prime, like 6-3 in Super Bowls. That game was in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 307. Freemason and Jewish Gematria is 307. Freemasonics, 63. That's what these are. These are Freemasonic rituals. Perfectly scripted and planned. Tom Brady, the Patriots, right after 9/11 and the Patriot Act. A guy who's not very athletic. He can throw the ball to the spot, but in a league where you need athleticism and speed, Tom Brady's never had it, but he's had all day in the pocket. Doesn't make any sense. He's also had his receivers also wide open, just like Peyton Manning with a 10-yard cushion all day, every day, and people don't see it. Archie Manning wins nothing. He has 2 sons that play in the NFL. Everything about their careers is a mockery. They win Super Bowls. Anyway, let's see. Did I get everything here? All right, let's go on to let's go back to this. Notice all mainstream media, when they covered this story of Herman Boone, again, this was the real-life coach from the film Remember the Titans. He died December 18th, right before the playoffs got rolling, and the Titans have been the biggest story of these playoffs. And I'll tell you something about the Titans right now. This is something we've talked about all year. There's only 5 teams in the NFL that have a connection to 54. There's 32 teams, 5 that have a connection to 54. One is the Jets. And what's interesting about the Titans is there used to be an older Jets team in the NFL that are related to this Titans team, the history of this Titans team. So there's an old Jets team that's connected. So Jets equals 54, Bills equals 54. Those are 2 of your teams. In the AFC, there's only one other team, and they are the only team in the league where when you write out the full name, the city and the nickname sum to 54. So the Titans having a very memorable season, going to the AFC Championship, knocking off the defending champions. And by the way, if I can spell Gillette Stadium, I just want to show you something real quick because you can verify this. It's 1,000% true. Yeah, this is right. Gillette Stadium's 177. Mike Vrabel, the day the story came out, July 11th, that he would cut off his dick to win the Super Bowl, from that day to the Titans beating the Patriots in Gillette Stadium was 177 days later. From the news breaking, and again, Mike Vrabel used to play for the Patriots, to that big upset over the Patriots, 177 days. And this week they became 5-8 as a franchise in the divisional round by beating Baltimore. There was a riddle there for the Titans in the numbers. And by the way, just check out how Titans is 20. And think about how they're the Tennessee Titans, TT. T's the 20th letter. They're in the AFC South. South is 20. The Texans got eliminated today, but, AFC South represented in 2 games in the divisional round. Texans is 20 as well. Again, they ended up with the big comeback. Houston Texans 51, the 51 points, or excuse me, how they hosted Super Bowl 51 with the big comeback. Patriots over Falcons, the 25-point comeback. Don't forget it on 2/5. Falcons 25. They moved the touchback to 25 yards that year. And it was the 97th NFL season. 97 is the 25th prime number. So in the 97th season, they make the touchback, 25 yards. They have the Super Bowl on 2-5. The Falcons go down in a 25-point comeback. Again, it's the same stuff year after year. But coming back to Herman Boone, every media outlet showed this picture, right? This picture with the number 62. The number 62. And you have to realize, there's other pictures of this guy. Why is every media outlet going with this one picture and a story about his death? If you follow my work, you know I talk about sacrifice in 62 all the time. Sacrifice in 62. Recent Marion pointed out that the term Faustian bargain, which means a deal with the devil, equals 62, which is interesting. It always shows up around suspicious deaths. We just saw it this weekend with the father dying of the rap duo. How do they say their name? It means drummer's ear backwards. Raish, Murmured, or whatever, however you say that backwards. But and then you get a famous drummer dying a few days later, Neil Peart. Anyway, the other thing that this made me think about is the World Series. Because remember, well, if you didn't follow me on Patreon, you don't know, but we were talking about the riddles with 62 in Houston and the entire MLB season and why it made sense from the beginning of the year for the season to end on the day leaving 62 days left in the year. And part of that was a big ritual with Ichiro at the beginning of the season in Japan, retiring in Japan, being the Japanese star. And I'm forgetting some things, but Game 7 was scheduled for the day leaving 62 days left in the year. I'm trying to think. Man, there's some other big 62 piece I'm missing. But anyway, part of the reason we figured out it was definitely going to be... whoops, I wrote the wrong thing. Or did I? No, I didn't. There it is. Houston, Texas. part of the reason that we figured out that the World Series was going to be the Nationals over the Astros, Game 7, was part of understanding that Houston, Texas had this 62 connection. And you might recall in the postseason, just before the World Series got started, an umpire died, Eric Cooper. Eric Cooper was 62, and he had connections with being from the town that the Astros manager was from. 2 umpires ended up dying right before the start of the World Series. Their combined ages equaled 115. It was the 115th World Series. And Eric Cooper also summed to 107, like Washington Nationals. And remember, Nationals equals 105. They got their 105th win of the season, winning in Game 7. They gave the Astros, I believe, their 57th postseason loss. World Series is 57 as well. If you write out 57, it sums back to 131, like championship, like Super Bowl. Always a number hanging around championships. Anyway, this man's death becomes more interesting each day. The Titans, again, are that only team in the league that have that full 54 connection. By the way, I didn't tell you the other 2 teams that had 54 connections. One was New Orleans. New Orleans, 54. Drew Brees, 54. And then like I told you at the beginning of the season, the one team that I don't think is going to be any part of this season is the Redskins, even though they have a 54 connection. So if you think about it, the Bills made it, the Titans made it, and New Orleans made it. So the Jets at the beginning of the season, they had a disappointing season. They were another team. Or hold on, did I get everybody? The Bills, the Titans, and making sure I'm not missing a team. The Saints. Yeah, that's right, because the Jets obviously didn't make it, neither did the Redskins. So 3 out of the 5 made it. And the team that's advanced the furthest is the only one where it's the full team name again. So, and by the way, did you guys see the Titans go up 21-6 yesterday? Stuff's comical when you know these numbers. But, again, this man's death, December 18th, just before the start of the playoffs. The Titans' success, this stuff's not an accident. Notice he was 84 years old. No one's going to question the death of an 84-year-old. But remember, that's a special number. Masonry's 84. Remember, United States of America's 84. Jesuits 84. The nation's capital is pretty much ruled by the Masons and the Jesuits. You know, the whole thing with Meghan Markle with her August 4th birthday, just like Obama, her new title in the UK, whatever it is, Duchess Sussex, Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, whatever it is, equals 84. This whole Meg exit thing that's going on is 84. Again, it's because it's all masonry. It's all masonry. It's all doing riddles by this code. So NFL's game, America's game, this man, you know, dead at this. And the thing is, also, there's something to dying on December 18th. Again, this man died on his 52nd day of his age. His name, Herman Boone, equals 52. And it was also 1 month and 21 days. Blood sacrifices 121. 7 weeks and 3 days. Sacrifices 73. I mean, there's all sorts of things here. Plus the 62 in the picture, another sacrifice number. You know, dying on December 18th, not only did it have that number connection, but just that date alone. In numerology, 18 is 9, and 12 is 3. 1 plus 8, the digits of 18 is 9. The digits of 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. So December 18th, that date can be expressed as 9-3 in numerology, which represents Saturn, which is the keeper of time, which has to do with death and judgment. So there's just all sorts of symbolism there. And again, Titans, even if the Titans lost in the AFC Championship, they've still done more than anyone expected them to do. Even if you don't win the Super Bowl, this is still a great season as a fan. Man, we were good that year. We beat the Patriots. We beat the best Ravens, top seed. You know, it's already a great accomplishment. But it could go further. It's possible. They're going to owe some people some money if the Titans win the Super Bowl. That's the thing. Because they had huge odds even before this weekend. I think you could have bet the Titans before this weekend at 40-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyway. This stuff. Gross stuff. Now here, let's go back to this story. Let's talk about, again, the May 15th shooting of Mitch Lundgaard by the man in the Aaron Rodgers jersey, which caused J.J. Watt to give money to the family of the victims. Again, this story happened May 15th, supposedly 243 days before these big games for the Texans and the Packers, who both played today. 243 days later, the victim's name, Mitch Lundgaard, 243. So just to go back over details of this story. Again, this is why you got to know the cipher both ways. Mitch Lundgaard was killed by a man in an Aaron Rodgers jersey. This was part of the story. Aaron Rodgers, Mitch Lundgaard, perfect overlap. And notice that 63. If you've never watched my video, if you've never watched this video, if you go to YouTube and type in Zachary K. Hubbard, Aaron Rodgers, I bet that brings it up. Let's just see. Yeah, this is the one right here. It's funny that clip's 5 minutes and 4 seconds. That's funny. Huh. But if you were part of that, that was part of a live stream. Like, it was part of an hour-and-a-half live stream, and people were asking me to call the NFL league office about the rigged football game that I'd talked about. Because you might recall this game. It was Monday Night Football, Packers 49ers. Aaron Rodgers was going for his 63rd home win. He might have been playing C.J. Beathard that night. Go back and look at that. But Aaron Rodgers was going for his 63rd home win. And it was a date with 63 numerology, and Aaron Rodgers equals 63. And again, Aaron Rodgers grew up as a 49er fan. He played at Cal. He came out of college early because the Niners had the number 1 pick, and he thought he'd go number 1 overall, but instead they took Alex Smith. Supposedly Mike McCarthy liked Alex Smith more than Aaron Rodgers. He gets Alex Smith, then he becomes the head coach of the Packers, and he has Aaron Rodgers, and you're like, really? Really? This looks like a bunch of bullshit. Because obviously Aaron Rodgers, I mean, Alex Smith might be the better athlete, but Aaron Rodgers has the better ball talent. I mean, I don't need to say anymore. Anyway, and every 49er fan thought that the Niners were going to take Aaron Rodgers instead of Alex Smith. Alex Smith was the kid out of Utah, not the local product. You know, anyway, Alex Smith equals 111 in Gematria. 111, number 1 pick. I think that's part of it. Anyway, if you never watched this clip, watch it, because I talk. This is what I called the NFL office about right after that game, and just left them a voice message they definitely deserve. And then I also talked about the script with the Saints genociding the Redskins on the day the Braves and Indians got eliminated from the MLB playoffs, which I believe was a Monday Night Football game. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers jersey killer of Mitch Lundgaard, which brings J.J. Watt, the hero, to the table. So the name Mitch Lundgaard in reverse is 243, like the new coach of the Packers this year, Matthew Patrick LaFleur. And Rambo caught earlier this year this relationship between 243 and 54 through Venus. And we saw this, the first ritual we saw this NFL season, here, I'll just pull this up so you don't have to take my word for it, but it was the receivers coach Daryl Drake, who died August 11th, which is the establishment date of the Packers. The Steelers receiver coach died on August 11th, 243 days after his own birthday. Notice he was 62 years old. This is what I'm talking about, was 62 in sacrifice. But he died on August 11th, which was a date fitting for death. But this was the thing. From his birthday to his death was 243 days, right? And this was like right after Rambo had connected the 243 and 54 thing. Pittsburgh Steelers was 243 with the alphabetic order and reverse alphabetic order. And we were talking about it was weird that he died on the Packers' anniversary establishment date. But died on the date with 58 numerology, Pittsburgh. So anyway, and did I show that his name? Hold up. I think I forgot. Daryl Drake equals 54. The Steelers are run by the Jesuit Rooney family. But anyway, Daryl Drake, 54, dead 243 days after his birthday. So like right after Rambo said that, I was like, oh wow, Rambo's definitely onto something here. This is not an accident. And we documented it a number of times this year. There was a number of times it came up throughout the season. Sometimes I can't remember everything, but this Mitch Lundgaard having this special number, and then it's syncing up with this weekend of the NFL playoffs. Like I said, this story was, when this news broke, I said this story is clearly synced with the NFL season, and let's just go over that. If I didn't say so before, Venus is 54, that has this day that equates to 243 Earth days. So it's the astrology component. But this was the story. This man who was black, and keep in mind this story came out before the September 3rd story where ESPN declared this the year of the black quarterback. So you get a black man in an Aaron Rodgers jersey shooting a white fireman. The whole story is bullshit. I showed the video. I did a longer decode on this. It was on my channel that was deleted in September by Google, the latest censorship. But this whole video was just obvious bullshit. It made no sense. It was clearly a ritual made for the NFL season. We talked about how that date had 59 numerology. They love to shame black folks in the news with number 59, Negro, Slave, Blues, Rasta, and a whole bunch more, 59. Today, Russell Wilson goes down with 277 passing yards, the 59th prime, and now Aaron Rodgers will be playing in the Bay Area, which was the easiest thing to see this weekend. But this story, it happened in Appleton, Wisconsin. If you write that like Appleton, WI, it's 139, like Green Bay, like Freemasonry. Appleton alone sums to 99. This was the Packers' 99th season this year. Today, they just gave Pete Carroll his 99th all-time loss, and the Packers improved to 9-9 in the divisional round. A lot of people are going to say, no, it's the Packers' 100th season. They've been established for 100 years, but it's only their 99th NFL season. The only teams that this year were in their 100th season that still existed were the Bears and the Cardinals, who used to be the Chicago Cardinals. That's the part of the country that's the roots of football. But this name, Appleton, WI, I mean, it has some other numbers too. It has the 131 Super Bowl connection, the 49 NFL Super Bowl connection. Appleton, WI, 50. This year's Super Bowl 54, which is the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. The story was a shooting in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 44, Packers is 44, shooting's 44. Now, what's interesting now that we've had this, now that we're here, is we see that this story was synced up with this weekend. The team that the Packers just beat was Seattle. Seattle equals 44, and this was the Seahawks' 44th season. Seattle also sums to 19, like it's mostly the 2019 NFL season, concluding at the beginning of 2020. But remember, Seattle had a good year for sports. The Mariners got off to the hottest start. They had the big ceremony with Ichiro. It got ugly from there, but then their Sounders soccer team, or football as the rest of the world calls it, won the championship. So anyway, this 44 ended up factoring into the Seahawks. And I've always called the Seahawks the Packers farm team just because they've exchanged players and coaches from Holmgren to Hasselbeck. Also, for people who don't know, the only reason Marshawn Lynch was ever a Seahawk is because of the Packers. The Packers had the top waiver priority. They passed on Marshawn Lynch, and he ended up on the Seahawks. And you have to see that if the NFL were real, like if it was a real league, if it was real competition and not scripted theater, which it is, the Packers definitely would have picked up Marshawn Lynch. They would have never let him pass in waivers because the one thing they needed in the world at that time was a running back. Marshawn Lynch was arguably the best in the league. Plus, he had experience playing with Aaron Rodgers because they used to be teammates at Cal. Why would you not want that? Why would you not want one of the best athletes, best running backs in his physical prime, pretty much for free, to pair with a great quarterback who already has chemistry with him? You're going to pass on that as a real competitive franchise? I mean, obviously not. This is why it's so ridiculous that people can't see that the NFL is a complete joke. I don't even want to say in 2020, in our lifetime. It just gets worse every year. But you can verify that everything I'm saying today is true. If you actually, here, I'll show you something about 44. This is 100% true. If you write out 44, it sums to 144 with the alphabetic order and 99 with the reverse. If you look up Pete Carroll's stats, here, let's see if it might not be updated yet. They might need to give him his 99th loss. But, because sometimes it waits until the next day, this site, to put the stats in. But Pete Carroll came into this game. Yeah, they haven't put it in yet. So you see how he has 133 wins in the regular season? He has 11 in the playoffs. So he stayed on 144 wins today. And he came in with 90 losses in the regular season and 8 in the postseason. He picked up his 9th postseason loss today, so his 99th total. Notice, Seahawks 44th season. When you write out 44, it's 144, it's 99. It's also 54 like the year of the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, like I told people at the beginning of the year, I said it's going to be a special year for Russell Wilson. I said I don't see a Super Bowl, but I see a great season for him. He's been considered one of the top candidates for MVP this year. But what I saw about Wilson this year was the 54, and that he began the season against Cincinnati, which is the city he was born in. And Anyway, he went out by the numbers today. He became 4-4 versus the Packers. Again, when you write out Packers, it's 44. When you write out Wisconsin, it's 44. This story was connected to the shooting, 44. Seattle's 44. Again, it's the Seahawks' 44th season. And I gotta check my notes, but there was some 82 that came up if the Seahawks lost today. Just like how when Pete Carroll became the winningest coach in Seattle history, passing Mike Holmgren, who used to be the Packers coach, right after Pete Carroll got his 82nd win, I think it was the next day or 2 days later at the most, that's when Paul Allen, the owner of the team, died. Mr. Seattle, Paul Allen, who also owns the Blazers. And I think Portland Trail Blazers equals 82 as well. Or maybe it's just Trailblazers alone. What is it? Trailblazers alone is 82. Yeah, I just remember that from right after Carroll became the winningest coach in Seattle history. And realized Pete Carroll's coached for a few teams. The Jets, the Patriots. New England Patriots is 82 now that I think about it as well. What's with Pete Carroll in 82? Hold on. Got to think about that one more. But right after he got that 82nd win, the winningest coach, Paul Allen did. And Paul Allen had been rumored to be in ill health for like 20 years. I know because I live up here. I'm from Portland, lived most of my life in Seattle. But anyway, Pete Carroll's record just becomes so perfect. And the Packers became 9-9 in the divisional round. Again, for people wondering how you verify these types of things, there's stats like mcube.net. And if you go to NFL and you find the team you're looking for, so I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers. Hold on, I need this bigger one. If you go to the Green Bay Packers, let's see, here we go. And you go to playoffs. And realize this, MCube does not update any of their playoff stuff until the playoffs are over. So like if you're a sport that has a bunch of playoff games, like it's like the 8th game of the NBA playoffs, make sure you're not looking at this for current stats. You have to look at MCube before the playoffs start. But anyway, the Packers were 8-9 in this round of the playoffs before today. They just became 9-9 in their 99th NFL season. You see how that goes? And I think the Seahawks lost with 23 points, didn't they? That's the 9th prime number. One more 9. Okay. What else? So the Packers played the Bears. And this game was 113 days after the shooting. The shooting story, again, the Aaron Rodgers jersey, J.J. Watt donates money. Scottish equals 113. And again, American football is credited to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Their symbol, the capital G, should remind everybody of the Packers helmet. Especially when you realize that American football is credited to Walter Camp, the Scottish Rite Freemason. They said the shooter in this story was 47 years old. Let me see. Maybe it's down further. I know I got it here. Okay, so right here's the story. Yesterday at approximately 5:30 p.m., Appleton Police and fire personnel along with Gold Cross Ambulance responded to the 100 block of East Washington Street to assist a 47-year-old male who was arriving on a bus from outside the area. And that just makes me sick too, because the whole thing's staged when you think about black history on the bus, and bus equals 42, the number coded all over black history, and they called this the year of the black quarterback. And this year in the NFL, for example, Lamar Jackson became the first team. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, Baltimore, one of the blackest cities in the nation, became the first quarterback to clinch, or the first team to clinch a top seed exactly 42 days before the Super Bowl. Remember, only 2 quarterbacks have ever won the Super Bowl, both with 42 connections. The Redskins scored 42 points, and Seattle with Russell Wilson, being from Washington, the 42nd state, won the Super Bowl, beating the Broncos. 42 coded all over black history. If you ever read my book, 18th chapter, all about it. But, yeah, it's just so sick, man. And just knowing this stuff staged and synced up with the season. So, anyway, other things we noticed, since the story brought together Green Bay and Houston, they both had the 77 connection. And we talked about how Bart Starr ended up dying 77 days before August 11th, the Packers' establishment anniversary. And I guess I can just show you that real quick. But where is it at? So Bart Starr died May 26th, 77 days before August 11th. Big number there with the Packers in their history, 77. Secret society equals 77. Think about that with the Masons. and the capital G. But the first preseason game was against the Texans, and this game was 88 days from the supposed shooting May 15th. 88 days to the 8-8 game. And if you go back to that preseason game, you'll see that the first 2 touchdowns of the game were scored by the Packers. The first was the defensive touchdown, and the second was by Kaiser, the backup quarterback. Both of those men played at Notre Dame, which had the burning on April 15th in France, Scottish Rite, Freemasons, 47 degrees. But that defensive player, if you go back and look, I guarantee you this is 1,000% true. If you go back and look, you'll see that his name gematria, you take his full name, it equals 251 and 100. That was interesting. We document that right at the beginning because even the preseason gives you clues. This is the 100th NFL season, and 251 is the 54th prime number. So the first score on a defensive touchdown, which is weird to happen in the first place, it had this guy with the perfect numbers for the season. 251, 54th prime, again, 100th NFL season. By the way, when Marshawn Lynch just re-signed with the Seahawks, he played his first game with the Seahawks 251 days after his birthday, the 54th prime in the year of Super Bowl 54. Again, all these perfect rituals. But, yeah, so anyway, we knew this was something, and it ended up being part of the season's riddle. It connected perfectly with this weekend. And the Texans and Packers playing very similar games, both teams getting off to huge leads. But the Texans, and I think about this now, the Texans with the black quarterback blow the lead. And they blow it to who? They blow it to the lighter-skinned black quarterback who's in the commercial all year with Aaron Rodgers for State Farm. And notice State Farm equals 103, just like how the Packers won the first game of the season 10-3 over the Bears, 103 days after the death of Bart Starr. It was a span of 103 days. Okay. And again, just one more time about the C.J. Beathard thing. Remember, his brother was stabbed, killed in Nashville, where the Titans play. And the stabbing was 36 days from C.J. Beathard's birthday, and his name's C.J. Beathard's 36. His family has history in the NFL. In light of Beathard playing for the 49ers, again, I'm not saying this is going to be the Super Bowl, but it's just, this year's really tough. There's just so many scenarios floating out there. Again, Herman Boone, the coach from Remember the Titans, whose name equaled 52, died on his 52nd day of his age. Tennessee equals 52. And if it were the Titans and the Niners lost to the Titans, if it was all about Remember the Titans, again, the Niners would be 5-2 in Super Bowls. And Tennessee would be 13-7 on the season, which is interesting because Tennessee also sums to 137, like 13-7, and 137 is the 33rd prime, like the Super Bowl being on the 33rd day of the year, Groundhog's Day. And Cypher I don't talk about a lot, but Satanic Gematria, NFL is 137, which again is the 33rd prime, and Masonry, Secrecy, Order, they're all 33. It's a number that definitely shows up in the NFL a lot, just like how the 33-year-old's getting shamed today. Julian Edelman is on a 33 date numerology not far from Hollywood, 33, like Masonry, like Secrecy, like Order. Again, this most pure cipher, the dark blue one, the alphabetic order with the rules numerology, most important cipher. Masonry 33, Secrecy 33, Order 33, Federal 33. Again, the nation's federal headquarters are our Masonic headquarters. Think about it. 33, the obsession comes from the 33 bones that make up the human vertebrae. People's 33, persons 33, societies 33. If I can get my keyboard to work. Society. And the belief comes from Kundalini, which, by the way, sums to 58, just like Freemasonry is 58, Secret Society's 58. Got to spell right. Oh, my keyboard is like dying. Secret Society, 58. Freemasons related to the Rosicrucians, 58. Their secrets are in Solomon's Temple, 58. You want to know why the whole nation is geared to protect a small nation that has the city of Jerusalem, 58. You got to know the history of the Masons and the Knights Templar and how they used to call Temple Mount Solomon's Temple. So, back in the times of the Crusades. Anyway, realize it's all connected. All this stuff's connected. The people who run the leagues, who own the leagues, who distract the masses with these rigged games, keeping their mind off the things they should really be paying attention to, like how they're overtaxed and paying for foreign nations and foreign wars that have no benefit to us but just make the world a worse place. But just go back to sleep and watch the football game. Nothing to see here. It's that 1984 quote, George Orwell. So, anyway, let me see. There was one more thing I wanted to cover. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to go over some of these scores this weekend. So, the Chiefs down 24-0. 1 point shy of the Patriots comeback in Super Bowl 52 hosted by the Texans. Anyway, down 24-0, rally to win 51-31. Again, this came in the divisional round. This was the number of the week, 51. Ryan Tannehill got his 51st career win. The 49ers became 5-1 versus the Vikings in the playoffs. 51 points scored by the Chiefs. 51 combined points in the Packers-Seahawks game. Again, Houston Texans 51. They hosted Super Bowl 51. You go on Patreon, the live stream we did before the game, I talked about Houston in 31, number that comes up all the time with them. Narrative that could have worked in the Texans' favor today is had they won at the Chiefs, they would have been 3-1 at the Chiefs. It's also the risk of them falling to 2-2 because Texans is 79, the 22nd prime, like the 22 men on the field, like how the Super Bowl this year is on 2-2. But anyway, again, you know Gematria, you just see through the scores. You see why the score is 51-31. You know, Houston and Chiefs have the 31 connection. That's the 11th prime number, 11 men on the field, master number. 82 combined points. Vesica Pisces 82, the shape of the football. You know, Houston versus Chiefs on 1/12. What a perfect matchup. And then Seahawks and Packers finished 28-23. That's 51 combined points. Divisional 51. Packers win with 28. You know, there's been riddles all year with 103, the 27th prime, and I've been thinking, like, is that the sign that the AFC is going to tie the NFC at 27 Super Bowls? But if the Packers end up in the big game, you got to think about it, because the Packers could win the 28th Super Bowl for the NFC. So they're just, this year is just so tough. Seahawks got that 51 connection. Again, the 99s played big. Pete Carroll got his 99th all-time loss. The Packers in their 99th season became 9-9 in the divisional round, and this game was synced up with the story in Wisconsin, the shooting that we talked about back in May and June. Appleton 99, and 99 ends up just being so perfectly encoded. Carroll's 99th all-time loss, and consider like Carroll's quarterback is Russell Wilson, who played at Wisconsin. I mean, and again, just the Packers and Seahawks history, it's too much to deny. And I guess I could talk about the games from yesterday, too, the scores. I know that there were 37 points in the 49ers and Vikings game, 27-10, 37 combined points. Game was in Santa Monica. Santa Clara, that's where it was. Santa Clara, my fault, getting my Santas mixed up. Santa's 27. Clemson last year dominated there in the college championship. And which was synced up with the death of their former running back, just like how this year we said in July how Clemson was a lock to be in the game because it was synced up with the death of their former running back, Tyshawn Dye. It's the same stuff every year. Anyway, score of the Saturday games. So I told people on Patreon that what I thought the safest two games this weekend were to take the 49ers and Packers because I didn't see how they were going to miss the narrative of Aaron Rodgers, who played at Cal, who's a Bay Area product, who grew up a 49ers fan, who wore the Joe Montana jersey on draft day to be drafted by the Niners only to be taken by the Packers. I just said they have to do that. They have to do that. Super Bowl this year is also on Aaron Rodgers' 63rd day, that special number to him, so again, tough season, but Packers and Niners just seem like the easiest picks this weekend. Told people there was a good chance the Texans could upset the Chiefs. A lot of my people got too excited too early, but I told them, I said, temper your expectations because all year we've talked about how much sense the Chiefs could make in the Super Bowl. A lot of Chiefs-related deaths at the beginning of the year. One at the 100th NFL, or one on the 100th day of the year before the 100th NFL season. One on May 4th, 5-4. Again, 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. Chiefs equals 50. Makes you got to think about San Francisco, too. They got that 50 and Joe Montana connection. This year, the Super Bowl's 50 days after Shanahan's birthday, the coach of the Niners. Again, I'm telling you, this year's tough. But you can still see, when you know the knowledge, what they're doing. Last weekend, the Vikings game had... Whoops. Hold on. I hit the wrong button. Last week, there's a rule to know in Gematria. Remember how the Vikings hosted the 98th NFL season Super Bowl? Vikings is 98. It was Super Bowl 52. Minnesota's 52. Minnesota just upset the Saints, giving Drew Brees his 52nd career home loss. We call Minnesota the 52. Well, Minnesota loves 38 as well, but that 52, man, like U.S. Bank Stadium where the Vikings played, for example, even equals 38. Just like Minnesota's 38, but that 52, like how they hosted Super Bowl 52, man, when you see 52 in a sports game with Minnesota, and that could be somebody getting their 52nd win, 52nd loss, becoming 5-2, that counts as well. Things like that, just like how Rodgers became 5-2 in Minnesota, Monday Night Football near the end of the season. I think that was the last Monday Night Football game of the season. But anyway, Drew Brees got his 52nd loss at home. It was a big payout. It was also the wild card round, which has the 52 connection. Again, it was 103 weeks from the Minnesota Miracle game. Remember the 61-yard touchdown, the Minnesota Miracle? There's a million more things to that, too. But, again, the NFL is just such a joke. Okay, coming back to these scores. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I was going to tell you. Last week, the Vikings game had 46 points on a 46 date numerology. There's a rule with this reduction cipher. The 19th letter, which is S. S is the 19th letter. You see that? S is 19. When you use a reduction, it becomes 1 because the numerology of 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. So it breaks down to 1, but S is the only letter you have to add together 2 times. So as a rule, it can also be 10 in this study. That's where Vikings is 46, like how in the Saints game you had 46 points on the 46 date numerology. Okay, so anyway, 37 points there. The Ravens and the Titans game, difference is 16 points. You had 16 date numerology in this game as well. And again, the Titans became 5-8. 5-8 in that round of the playoffs by beating Baltimore 58. And what makes me wonder about the Titans is Vrabel got his 20th win. Again, it's 2020. Titans is 20. South is 20. So it's like, okay, is that the symbolic place to end? But, man, Titans got riddles too. I realize South has that 52 connection like Tennessee and like the death of that Herman Boone coach from Remember the Titans. I was overlooking that. There's always more. But the 16 played on this day. Again, the 16-point game. And if I'm not mistaken, the 49ers got their 16th win in that round of the playoffs yesterday. And I believe they kept the Vikings on 16 wins. Maybe in the playoffs all time? Got to go back and double check that, but there were some 16s on the board yesterday. No, I think it was... Oh, actually, I know what it was. The 49ers did get their 16th win in the divisional round. It was actually this game where the 16s, I believe, didn't play. I think the Titans could have stayed on 16 playoff wins, and the Ravens could have got their 16th playoff win, but instead they lost by 16. So, again, you know the code. You can see through the riddles, but... sometimes it's still hard to be certain about the outcome. Sometimes outcomes look really great. Like I told people this weekend, Packers and Niners look really great to play each other next week. And by the way, the Packers and Niners game next week, it'll be 57 days after they played in the regular season. 57 days. This was a big part of the reason I like this as well, beyond just the Rodgers and Bay Area thing. If you write out 57, it's 131. There's some other numbers that matter here too, but remember, championship number, 131. Championship's 131, and it's the NFC Championship, and Super Bowl's 131. So, again, some riddles are really consistent. That 57 number is no joke. It shows up in sports championships all the time. You know, we had Vanderbilt winning the College World Series this year because of the number 57. Had the 57-year-old manager, got the 57th win in the World Series. And it's just like, again, Nationals is 57, World Series is 57, and the Astros picked up their 57th postseason loss all time when they lost in Game 7. And again, the Nationals got their 105th win of the season. And they hadn't been in the World Series in Washington, D.C. since 33. And, God, I forget, did the World Series start 138 days after Trump's birthday, or did it end 138 days after Trump's birthday? You see how Nationals is 138? So is Federal, and so is Donald Trump. And 138 is an interesting number. The Masons, one of their secret words, I'm not a Mason, but just some people have given me information. Sometimes I feel bad. And sometimes I wonder if people are bullshitting me, because even though I expose Masonry, I don't want people to give me secrets that they pledged to keep secret. I just feel like there's something unethical about that. But anyway, I had to look one time at one of the words that supposedly they learn when they're learning their first 3 degrees, and that word summed to 138, and I was like, that is an interesting number. That's a number I always see around the nation's capital, which has everything to do with Masonry. But hold on. Trump's birthday is June 14th. I know either the World Series started or ended. I can't remember the start date, but I know the end date. It ended October 30th. The day leaving 62 days left in the air. Yeah, so the World Series ended 138 days after Trump's birthday, too. And again, Donald Trump's 138, Federal's 138, Nationals is 138, Dave Martinez is 138. The Nationals, God, what was it? I think the Braves were in their 138th season, the Nationals... Wait, the Nationals beat the Dodgers, and there was some 138 riddle. And what was it? Maybe the Cardinals advanced over the Braves in their 138th season. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, what more can I say? Let's see. You know what? Here's what I'll do. To wrap this up, I've been talking for a while. I've talked about enough things to make my point. If you're watching and you think this is all bullshit, sorry, I can't help you. You don't know the difference between coincidence and facts. And you know what else is a damn shame is that my channel's been deleted 20 times, because if it hadn't, there'd probably be at least 300,000 subscribers here, since I built the channel up twice to nearly 100,000 subscribers only to get deleted. You know, could be even better than that. You just never know. We've called so many damn things right. If we'd been able to keep all the predictions and videos up, which is over 6,000 videos that I've made since 2013, most of which have been deleted by Google. But anyway, if all of that was still up, I mean, there would be an awesome track record. And that's why I have a loyal following and people who pay for my information on Patreon. You know, thinking about getting back to doing it for free. I feel like I have better karma when I do it for free, but anyway, I mean, if all that hadn't been deleted, I mean, all the evidence is there. I can upload the old videos that are archived, but, you know, now they have a release date of the information that's past all the events, so anyway, here's what I'm going to do for the final end of this. For anyone who's watching who, thinks this is bullshit, or you're just like, I can't believe what I'm listening. This is so, because I know people like that are out there. I want you to give me a call on the 509 number on the bottom of the screen. I'm going to grab the phone real quick. Hold on. And for all the people who've been calling all show, I see there's been quite a few calls. I didn't have the phone with me. It was charging, so. Anyway, anyone who's out there watching who thinks, I'm just noticing, this is the kind of stuff that just makes me laugh. You see how they got number 17 up here, right? Who had a great game receiving, big stats, biggest plays of the game, huge first down in the end. 17 is the 7th prime number. The word Mason equals 17. Modern Freemasonry began in 1717. The G on the helmet is the 7th letter. 17's the 7th prime. Mason 17. You know, worshiping the G, the 7th letter, geometry, all the words that start with G. Anyway, you got that front and center of this shot they give you, which, I mean, it makes sense. He was kind of the star of the game. But look who they captured. Look at which photo they used, where they captured this. This is the next most visible number, 57. And again, we just talked about that's the championship number. So the Packers are on their way to the championship game. 17 dancing in front of 57. And by the way, what is 57 plus 17? Is that 74? Masonic 74? Again, you look at the photos that ESPN chooses again and again, you see very repetitive numbers. What's up, caller?
Hey, what's up, Zach? How you doing?
Doing all right, man.
A couple observations from today that you may want to be aware of already know. It was the first time ever that a team was down 20 in a playoff game and won by 20.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, because, yeah, they won by so much. And that's just the complete joke. They got outscored 51-7.
Right, so 58 points there. 2020. Another thing happened. We were talking about Dark Horse yesterday.
Right.
The Titans. Dark Horse has a perfect match in all 4 ciphers with Drew Brees.
Okay, what's your thought on that?
Well, I think the Titans are tied into Brees through Houston, and his father being playing there. His father played Houston. The Titans are from Houston. Even the Chiefs are actually from Houston, right? Or at least they're from Dallas.
The Chiefs used to be the Dallas Texans. Yeah.
So just find it interesting when I see something have a perfect match in all 4 ciphers, trying to figure out what that is. But the Dark Horse, and then maybe they're winning for Brees this year, right? Another thing happened at the end of the Niners game. If you recall back on October 31st, which was the 49ers played the Cardinals, that was on River Phoenix's day of his death. The big controversy was Jimmy Garoppolo saying to Aaron Andrews, who, by the way, is born 5'4", "Feels great, baby." Remember that comment?
I forgot it. No.
"Feels great, baby." He said it was a big thing, like he was hitting on or something. Well, the guy yesterday, after the game was over, number 99, when they asked him how it felt to be advanced into the NFC Championship, he said, "Feels great, baby."
Huh.
So he used the exact verbiage, and he did say it. Aaron Andrews did receive the message from Jimmy Garoppolo, and she's born on 5.
All right, hold on. I just want to go back to something you said. When you talked about Drew Brees and Tennessee having this connection, it just reminded me of what we documented in the college basketball tournament this past year with Drew Brees getting excited about Purdue's win over Tennessee.
Yeah, I was the one that was all over that. 99-94, 193, 44's prime. I had a 17-12 in overtime. I had a big 17-12 game come up, which turned out to be Tannehill against Brady, but we might have another one. That was the overtime score.
Right.
But Breeze having a perfect match with Dark Horse is, there's got to be something to that, but whatever. But "Feels great, baby." He said it that night of River Phoenix's death, the anniversary to his death, and I know Rambo has talked about the whole, Joker and River Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix winning the Academy Award and all that stuff. You also had, I'm going to go back to this, and you guys I know this guy's like, tell that guy to stop talking about the Chargers. Let's remember that Phillip Rivers.
But you know what? I got to call you out though. I haven't heard you apologize because you were huge on the Chargers. You pretty much said it was over. It was definitely the Chargers. It couldn't be anything else. You told everybody to put money in their charity. You'd pay for all of it. It was the Chargers all the way, and everyone was telling you, I was like, I don't know about the Chargers this year, man. I think you're going a little too far on that.
I don't want to hear anybody calling about the Titans because I was the one working on the Titans, and I didn't hear anybody call that. I was like,
but man, listen, I love you because you do great research and you're awesome. But you were calling in and going on every single day for 10, 15 minutes about how the Chargers were definitely going to win the Super Bowl, and you have not apologized for that. That's why people are mad at you.
Apologize for what? Like you never were wrong? You had the Ravens and the freaking the Saints. You're not apologizing. You just made a bad prediction.
But no. Hold on. I gave people a lot of good information this year, and I haven't done the best in the NFL, which I've already said, but I don't need to apologize because I didn't guarantee and say it's already done and it's over and the Chargers. Anyway, I'm going to move on, man. I'm going to move on. That guy, he talks too much. That's the problem with that guy. He'll talk for 30 minutes, but the point is he did call in 30 times and guaranteed that the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl, and a lot of people got annoyed because he kept calling in. And I was like, okay, I don't know if we need to talk about this 10 minutes every single day, man. I try not to cut off people, but anyway. The person from Anchorage, why do you keep calling and hanging up in 1 second? Is this some sort of trolling? Anchorage, why do you keep calling and hanging up in 1 second? Anchorage, you have 30 missed calls. What are you doing? Now you're not talking. You're on the line. Yeah, it's some sort of trolling. They just keep calling nonstop to try to clog up the line. Isn't it amazing? I have 36 missed calls from that person. 36. It's amazing how people. Can't we just talk about this? I didn't even have a great NFL season. I don't have anything to brag about. But just the last kind of guy just annoys me because it's okay, it's not the same thing, man. I didn't guarantee that the Super Bowl was going to be the Ravens and Saints. I didn't go on and on 15, 20 minutes a day. I told people there's a lot of narratives to cover. And some of the narratives and scenarios I talked about are still alive. I put out, 4 scenarios? A couple of those are still alive, aren't they? So it's not the greatest season, but I didn't call in and guarantee the Chargers are going to win every fucking day. Huge difference. Caller.
how's it going, brother?
What's up, man?
Hey, real quick. I think I have an observation for Super Bowl. Would you like to hear it or no?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay. So the Chiefs, the Chiefs won today, and Andy Reid got his 78th all-time win with the Chiefs, right? So I'm thinking, like, what if the Chiefs win against Tennessee next week and he'll get his 79th, right? And then he'll go to the Super Bowl. 79 is the 22nd prime, and the Super Bowl's on 2-2.
Right. Yep, that's a great point. And I believe if Reid won 2 more games, he'd have 222 wins all time, which is interesting on 2-2-2020. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was just throwing that out there. I didn't know if you caught that or not.
Yeah, that's why that season's so tough, man. There's just so many things that just look so good. It's like, God, I've never seen so many things lining up.
I just had this feeling that I think they're gonna shame Mahomes because I don't know. I had this feeling that they might do. I don't know. I think maybe I don't know. It's just I feel like it might be Green Bay. I mean, I don't know. It's really, like you said, it's really tough.
The ESPN called it the year of the black quarterback, so it seems like a black quarterback has to be in the Super Bowl, and at this point, the only one left is Mahomes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So maybe he would get his 80th win with the Chiefs if Reid were, because they were blowing that up like, well, if Reid's a great coach and if to be to get it to being that big name up there, he has to win the Super Bowl. They were hyping that up the whole game, and the announcers and everything. So I'm like, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm just like, man, this year is tough. It really is.
Right. Yeah.
But that's all I had. That.
All right. Appreciate it, Michael. Take care, man.
You too.
Okay, but yeah, just going back to these college games. We knew something was up with these games. All these games on this day, college basketball tournament, Virginia wins with 53 points in the Sweet 16. Again, 53 is the 16th prime number. Virginia's 53. I thought that was a great sign because I was huge on Virginia. You see how Virginia's 89 as well? So is Virginia Cavaliers. When Tony Bennett won the championship, he stayed on 89 losses. We were keeping an eye on that to see how many losses Tony Bennett would have coming into the tournament. Since he came in with 89, we're like, oh, that's a good sign. Virginia wins right through because we already had the riddle with the lieutenant governor. Caller.
Hey, Zach. My name is Liam from Dayton. I've talked to you a few times over the past few years. Appreciate your work personally.
Thanks, man.
And secondly, I've been documenting all to do, obviously, like you. I've been on your Patreon. And a lot of the NFL or the playoff teams I was able to get correct just by correlating like the 100th NFL season and what like the NFL wants. So Green Bay, and especially after the Green Bay Chicago game, after who was the first that, right?
Right.
I knew that they would be a lock. San Francisco, this seemed like old NFL, they were a lock. Obviously the Eagles and Cowboys team a little weird. One of the teams that I picked, surely based off of the old AFL, was actually the Titans. So I was actually surprised at first when they didn't give them the playoff spot and they had to win to get in because, the Titans are the old Houston Oilers, and I knew that, Houston had a lot going for it. And so this year, obviously, the Texans got in too, and I was like, I wonder if they can make a run. Because 20 years ago, if you remember, they played St. Louis in the Super Bowl and lost. Right. And it's funny because now they're in the AFC Championship game against, the Missouri.
That's true. Right, just like the Rams were in Missouri back then. Yeah, that's a good point. You talking about this makes me think. I got to look at Kevin Dyson real quick because he's the guy who finished at the goal line of that game. His birthday is June 23rd. I just got to see if they got anything going on with Kevin Dyson in that game. I haven't thought about that.
It's Kevin Dyson, I forgot. Kevin Dyson actually coaches Vanderbilt, I believe, right?
Does he? Well, that would be interesting. Tennessee school. I see that the Super Bowl is exactly 32 weeks after his birthday. NFL, America, Scottish, they're all 32 teams, so that's kind of interesting. I'm going to have to think more about that one.
Yeah, I believe Kevin Dyson, because I was watching, I watched, even though I know for what it is now, over the past 5-6 years, being a part of literally every channel you sit on. So I've seen the ups and downs. I wish I would have been able to say some of your videos and blogs from back in the day, but I just remember I rarely watch sports try to profit off of my friends who still don't believe, one, and get free dinners, and two, I do try to spread the knowledge and to other people, like, hey, look, not only in sports rigs, but all this other stuff and how it correlates, as you said for years, and a lot of people just don't, understand, so I try to, me and a buddy of mine have the thing where it's like, you know what, if you don't want to join me, well, let me just show you by taking your money or by taking dinners or whatever, like literally a couple weeks ago, I told people, I said, look, State Farm, and part of the reason why I believed at the start of the playoffs was going to be Kansas City, Green Bay, was not only did they have all these State Farm commercials, but then I looked at where State Farm was from, and it was Rockford, Illinois, I believe, and I was thinking, there's Illinois, Green Bay, the only thing that separates Kansas City from Wisconsin is like, one state, you know what I mean? It's one state over here, it's Chicago, and I was like, how come they keep pumping Mahomes and all that? And remember, he went down with that fake injury during the middle of the season, and it kind of reminded me of when Peyton Manning missed about 5 games or 6 games, and then came back in the 2013. That's probably the most, easy one to call the Black Panther tribute. I mean, everything that you're talking about during that season, 50 years of QT Newton, number 58, Paul Miller. I mean, that Super Bowl 50 was such a joke, but I believe that this year is the same way. I mean, a Super Bowl one, Bart Starr dying, and then, even though I know it didn't have to do with football, David Stern dying, and I was thinking of the word Stern Star. Stern doesn't mean star in Hebrew, right?
Say that again?
Am I right about that? I believe, you can quote me if I'm wrong, that I remember in a video you did as far as the NBA, where you were talking about David Stern and the word star.
Stars, yeah, because David Stern said that the NBA, he was making it about making stars and not so much basketball, and then you get the era of Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all that. Stars equals 77, like his age of death.
That's interesting, and the reason why I thought about that is obviously he died, a week or 2 ago, but then I was thinking about how Bart Starr died before this season, and I'm like, Aaron Rodgers, and I noticed how they do it. Aaron Rodgers kind of went away, with Tom Brady showing, and they had all these, year of the black quarterback things. I'm a black man, so I, followed this stuff, and I told my friends and anybody who will listen for years, and I mean, it's sad, again, being a black guy, that you have to say this, is that they only hype up, Russell Wilson's a little bit different because of the way he acts and stuff like that, but as far as certain black players in the NFL, and especially black coaches, they only hype you up to like a certain level to use you, and then it seems like after that, they just throw you off the cliff. Russ, talks, proper, has that, I don't want to go there, but you know what I'm talking about, the type of bravado that isn't too, hood, we'll say, but then you look at a guy like, Cam Newton, he's the definition of what, white America probably is like, he's too, not necessarily thuggish, but he's just too, you know what I mean, the bravado, too cocky, and then I look at Mahomes the same way as far as a Russ, and also, he's half black, half white, and I'm like, he's like the perfect guy to sell, you know what I mean? Like, it is just crazy. So I literally went and figured out, how most of the stuff works. Like with Lamar, I mean, I was watching a game that he played right before the regular season ended, and I was like, and I know it's bad, but I was looking at his grades and stuff, and I said, does the NFL really want to put this guy won the MVP, which is kind of like, I know how we talk, or you mentioned, sports is like WWE, and so I always try to think of it as a booker, as they call it in wrestling. Like, what would you book for a title match, or what would you book? So Lamar just, he was regular season, he was good, but I knew when they faced the Titans, like, they were going to shame them. Like, I just believe that they did not want that man, and I think even going forward, I don't know if that man will ever win, a playoff game, honestly. And I know in real live sports, he would be winning, a lot of games and winning championships. Obviously, he can run, he can throw over guys like, Tom Brady, who, can't run a lick. But, when you strip this stuff, you can, there was 2 or 3 times today they said you couldn't strip it any further.
Right. They love that line, man. They can't say it enough.
I was just laughing out loud. I have one more thing for you, too, as far as this earlier game. I don't know if anybody's mentioned it, but when Houston was down, when Kansas City was down 24-0, I started trying to bet friends even more, like, hey, you want to bet dinner or whatever, because I thought about why they were down. I thought about Frank Reich in 1993, the Buffalo Houston thing, and I said that this was before they scored a point. I had a tweet out and said that they're just going to make Watson, Warren, Moon, and they're going to fall down and they're going to lose in the second half. It literally, within 3 minutes of me tweeting that, they were already, down like from 24 to nothing to 24 to 21. And I said, these guys were acting like they couldn't catch the pass before, and now they're catching everything. And I said, if you can't believe that sports are scripted, if you can't believe that these guys are just acting out there, you just have to be, as you would say, just a mindless Williams or just the complete.
And that's the reality, man. That's the whole reality. I mean, it's a brain dead society. Plus, half the people watching are intoxicated, so they're not really like remembering or that focused. I mean, majority of people are drinking while they're watching the game. So, it's pathetic, man. Pro sports are pathetic. They get more pathetic every year. NBA is all about 20-point comebacks in the fourth quarter, at least one game like that a week. It's like, come on, these used to be rare games. Now it's like every week. I mean, it's sometimes even more than that. Like I said, nobody can close out a baseball game up 24-0 and you get beat 51-31. I mean, that's just unheard of. But yeah, it's all because it's an ADD society. No one has any focus. They just need more excitement, more craziness, because people they got their eyes glued on the phone. So anyway, I appreciate the call, man. You take care. All right. See you, man. He's got the same gene as my mom. I could tell that he could talk all day. I have 2 weird parents, my mom and my dad. Neither of them have really any good communication skills. What they both do is they don't ask any questions. They don't have anything to ask about you. They just start talking about whatever's going on in their life. And you can sit there and they'll just talk for hours and hours without even stopping. So anyway, some people are that way. It's like, let's have a conversation, man. I just don't want to hear you talk at me at 30 minutes of your own observations. I mean, that's great, but anyway, try not to be rude to people. So, the trolls are out there. I just got rid of the person who I just blocked in the chat's a legitimate scammer that just hangs around me all the time and instant messages people and asks for money and gives them sob stories. He tells them he's homeless. And then next thing you know, he's on my Patreon bragging about how he just made a $2,500 bet. It's like, so you're scrounging around telling everybody you're homeless and you need money and you're just begging all these different people. And now you're on here bragging that you just bet $2,500 on a game? Is this what you do? You hang around people and scrounge up money to make bets off other people's money? I mean, and he's always trying to hang around here like he's some saint. It's like, get the fuck out of here, you little criminal. Caller?
Hey, man. First time caller, long time listener. Something's been weighing on my mind lately. I just gotta ask, man.
Okay.
Ortiz.
Okay, I can feel you were trolling.
But I'm serious at the same time.
You're serious at the same time? How are you serious?
Just want to know.
Okay. You can just tell just this whole build-up. And plus, I recognize that douchebag's voice. He calls from different numbers, but I hear his voice. I'm like, oh, it's this idiot. So, any of the trolls out here who want to talk shit in the chat, why don't you call in? Tell me about... See, people want to say that I had a bad year, and by my standards, I did. But, I mean, let's look at... Here's everything that I gave people this year that was correct. Before last NFL season began, Patriots and Rams, right on the money. Patriots over Rams. That was a big winner. Next sport. Next thing that came up. What was that? College basketball? College basketball. Now, I told people at the beginning of February it'd be Virginia or Duke. I'd put in a future on both of them. Virginia had good odds at the time. When the tournament began with Tony Bennett, 89 losses, I said, now's the time to double down on Virginia. Virginia won the championship. Okay, so that was that. What else? Women's soccer. I mean, that wasn't a big one, but we were gung-ho on U.S. winning women's soccer. That was true. Let's see. Novak to win Wimbledon. That was clear as day. Novak won Wimbledon. Let's see. Tiger Woods to win the Masters. Hit that big. Hit a lot of golf tournaments real hard this year. We nailed a lot of golf tournaments. It was the one where Ches Reavie was at the top. We had two guys we really liked, and they both finished in the top three, including the one guy who won the tournament. But what else? Baseball. Baseball was tough this year, but we figured it out before the postseason. Nationals over Astros. Game 7 looked like the most likely destination. People won a ton of money on that. So it's just like I said, it's math. So baseball, I struggled. I came up with 4 different World Series before I figured out Nationals Astros. So let's just do math. Let's say you bet $100 on 5 different scenarios that come up, the 5 that I came up with over the course of the season. And realize we had to be wrong about the ones we were wrong about to figure out the one that was right. It was like following a trail and trying to understand it. But let's just say you put down $100 on those 5 futures, and you hit on one. Well, the one you hit on paid 20 to 1, and some people got it at 30 to 1. So if you make 5 $100 bets, and you hit on one that pays between 20 to 30 to 1, you've made either $2,000 or $3,000, and you get your 100 back on that bet, and your other 4 you lost. So you came out way ahead. And plus, the other thing was with that World Series, when the Nationals were down with 2 games left in Houston looking like it was over, we said, let's bet this again because Nationals should come back and win this thing, and they did. So anyway, the trolls, let's see if I can get a troll out here. Caller?
Hey, Zach, what's up, man? It's been a while.
How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I just wanted to say, even though we hadn't really talked or got along the last time I talked to you, the knowledge that you've given is undeniable. It works. I don't know why you feel you have to justify or feel like you have to prove anything to anyone who's listening now, because everyone who's listening now is totally convinced. I believe. I think you're preaching to the choir, my man.
Well, the trolls are here. The trolls are active, and the one guy's calling in a troll. I want an actual troll to call in and try to debate anything. I mean, because you know what it is. On Patreon, there's a pack of 10 of them that just live on there and talk shit all day and destroy the page, and they're the same ones trolling and calling in 1,000 times, and all they do is lie on the page. Lie, 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 lie. I want to hear them debate in their words, since they're dedicated. There's literally a team of 10 people that harass me all day, every single day. You and I both know that. But they don't call in and actually have a fair debate. They talk shit in the chat. They write bullshit everywhere, but they'll never debate. That's the point I'm making.
The thing is, Zach, and you already know that they can't debate it. They know they can't debate it. So, this is their only tactic. It's the only thing they can do.
Right. But a lot of people are fooled by that. A lot of people are persuaded by that.
Yeah. I guess the new fish, the new people that are just kind of grabbing onto something, and I guess I can see why that frustrates you, because it stagnates your audience. You don't grow as much as you should be growing. That's for sure. But I know I'm not the only one. I tell everybody at work, man, I was calling the Titans were going to go deep in the playoffs. You had put out that football cheat sheet, I'd say about the beginning of the season and the preseason or whatever.
Well, just to go back, we had the early foundations of that cheat sheet in March, and then we continued to update it until the season began to get all the information in there. But yeah, we saw the Titans 54 thing early on.
Yeah, we saw the Titans, we saw the Chiefs, we saw the Packers. What surprised me was the 49ers, and I think they just kind of threw the Baltimore Ravens in there just to kind of be a spoiler. how the first game of the season, the Baltimore Ravens just obliterated the Miami Dolphins, right?
With 59 points, right? And that was stood out because it was the year of the black quarterback, as ESPN called it, and that's that big number throughout Black history. So that's why this year was so tough, because there were just so many things like that to take into account. It's just like, what is the real narrative here?
Well, the thing is, the reason why I wanted to call in and not rush to your defense, because you don't need a defense, but what I was trying to say was that the knowledge speaks for itself. The knowledge, I promise you, Zach, I hadn't even been on Patreon since that last time you and I had words. I haven't, and I just kind of look for the low-hanging fruit, as you would say, because, sometimes it's more obvious than not, and I thought that the Titans were a really good pick. Well, I also thought that the Vikings were a really good pick, too, but, once I lost on the Vikings, I doubled down on the Titans. Money line.
What did you like about the Vikings?
Well, I saw it was 52. 52 date numerology, I thought, and I know how strong that plays. But
you mean this weekend against the 49ers. You're talking about this weekend.
Yes.
But like I said, the 52 on the date, it's not like picking up a 52. I say on the date, it doesn't mean much. It's got to be picking up that number.
And there's no 52 actually, like you said, on the board other than the date numerology.
Right, and a lot of times it is like that. Like, so Minnesota's season ends on the 52 date numerology, which makes sense for Minnesota.
Yes, but like again, I'm gonna reiterate it one more time. If you had grabbed any knowledge over the years from you, if any of us had grabbed any knowledge over the years, and kind of not just was satisfied with what we were learning, but kept on learning and kept on wanting to know more and kept doing research, we would be able to grab the low-hanging fruit by ourselves without even listening to you.
Right. So here, I gotta tell you something real quick. Just before we go any further, I got to apologize. I don't remember that we had words, but I know what I said that pissed you off, and I think I said that right after you got off the phone when I was talking to you. But look, I got to be real with you too, man. I'm apologizing, but at the same time, you're part of the, like, you guys as a community really burned me out because I want to help you, but like days where we'd have a great day, as soon as the day was over, you're calling me late at night asking for the next pick, and I'm like, man, can't we just ever chill out for a moment? Can't we just celebrate that we had a good day? Why are we already on to the next pick and looking at this game 5 days from now? So, I mean, I really do care about you, and I want you to win, and every time I give you guys bad picks, I feel terrible, but I mean, like, sometimes I just feel like I'm just fueling addicts, and that's not what I want to be doing. It's like I want to help you guys win, but...
I get it. And I hear that you had mentioned, like, earlier in the show, that you were thinking... Sorry about that.
That's all good, man.
So I heard you were talking about starting it up again, or you were saying you might even do the Patreon for free or something like that. Or?
Well, I am going to start it up again. What I'm hoping is about to happen is I'm hoping that once I finish this book that I'm rewriting and making smaller and printable and that will get published, I'm hoping it'll sell well enough that I can finally hire people to help me out with work. And yeah, maybe doing it for free is a possibility. So if the book sells well enough, that's the goal.
That took up so much of your time.
Yeah, because I haven't had any time to finish the book that I've almost been done with for a year. I mean, because this is all I do now is decode sports. So, yeah, I just had to take a break to finish some other things that need to be prioritized.
Yeah, and I just really appreciate the political or the worldview videos that you're able to put out now. And, because you have more time. And I don't know what's up with your website, man. How do I get into the members? I mean, I signed up. I've done all the things I need to do to join the website. But what do I have to do to get in? Because every time I try to get into a chat or something, it tells me that I'm not part of the group or something.
Oh, well, so you have to look. So the groups that people make on there, some are private and some are public. So look at the ones that are public versus private, because it depends on the group that people created. But just by posting on there and sharing information and reading the wall, hopefully you'll be able to find people in the area. That's the goal. But yeah, check what groups are public and private, because that's up to the people who make them.
All right, well, thank you, Zach. I appreciate your time, brother.
All right, man. Take care. Caller?
Hey, my last call, okay?
Oh, okay, hold on. So I didn't mean to piss you off so much, but I'm just saying, man, the reason, like I said,
I'm not pissed off.
you were mad. Come on, you were mad.
I was.
Okay, you sound mad right now. I'm just going to apologize that I pissed you off. Again, I like you very much. I think you do great work.
Piss me off.
Come on, man. You got defensive right away. You got so defensive.
Why am I pissed off?
Okay, you're not pissed off. All right, my fault. Just go ahead.
Wait, no, what I'm saying is, yeah, okay, I'll go along with it. I went too far with the Chargers, 100%.
I'm not mad at you over that. I'm just saying the reason that some people in the community got so mad at you is because like they expressed to me, they're like, he's calling in every day, and it was true. I mean, you were calling in every day about it and talking at length, and I let you talk because you have great information. But just so many people listened to you, and they went huge on the Chargers, and
First of all, why would anybody? First of all, those people who did that. By the way, I bet on the fucking Texans today, and when they're up 24-0, I went and bet on the Chiefs.
That was a smart move. That's exactly what I would have done, especially that early in the game. You could just see how they were setting it up.
24-0. We know how these games are ridiculous. I'm like, I don't know.
Right, and it was early, so there was plenty of time for a comeback, and the Chiefs got a big offense.
I'm almost every time betting hedging at any point because I'm not going to get rich quick. It's going to be a little bit. You talk about all the time. It's slow and steady. The tortoise wins, not this fucking big.
That's exactly right. But come on, man, you were selling the Chargers so hard, like it was. I had people writing me saying like I had to defend you. You have no idea to how many people I had to defend you in emails. So many people saying I'm pretty sure he's a shill. He's trying to fuck us all over. I said no, trust me, he's not. He's a good person. He helped out Rambo. I said he just got carried away.
Let me say this. I'll apologize, okay? But the reason I stopped calling is because that guy said shut him down, okay, which was fine. And I went to work and kept working, and I uncovered the Titans that were a big part of the riddle through Rivers. So if I'm wrong for guarantee, anybody who bet a lot on some guarantee of a guy that's only been doing this for a year.
But okay, that's why I temper my words, because you have to realize some of the people are listening are thinking like everything's a gold mine, they're going to get rich tomorrow. It's just like you can't help these people, so you have to be careful with your words. I mean, you can admit that you were super selling the Chargers to win the Super Bowl.
But let me tell you now, and I've talked to my boy Al and Johnny and Moy and stuff, and they both said to me that if the Titans come in, you get the safe face, because I haven't shared 1/100th of what I've uncovered with the Rivers Tannehill connection. Now, sometimes you're a little off, but you're close, and the only reason I was close to it because I was circling it, and if it comes out that way, it was because of my search for the Chargers that I found the Titans. Okay? That's the way it works sometimes. You know that.
No, I don't disagree at all. That's exactly how it works. But I'm just saying that's why you shouldn't ever be overly confident.
My apologies to anybody who lost money on that. And first of all, if I challenge the Chargers, the guy who I put the challenge up to, I'll give $50 to his charity. I'll give it right now. It's not like I didn't do that. But I'm not going to guarantee nothing. I'm just going to provide information. I didn't call about the Titans for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. And guess where we stand right now with our group? Big long shots on the Titans because of the Chargers. Okay?
Sure. You were right. I got to let people know who don't know. You said there was something about the Beathard family, and then there ends up being this big Beathard death connecting into Nashville, which is the home of the Titans. So, yeah, I mean, your research was good. It just that's why I was saying to you, I was like,
well, see, Zach, you asked me to apologize. I was not aware.
Okay, the only reason is because you keep bringing up how people are mad at you. I'm like, well, I mean, to make these people not mad at you, just say, all right, I'm sorry I oversold the Chargers. That's all you got to say.
I was not aware that people took my words as gospel and went and bet on them.
There's a big community of people listening. You just have to think, like, how it works in the minds of some people. I'm not saying that, I mean, I wouldn't say that anybody was a wise man who went out and bet the house on the Chargers based on what you were sharing, but you were just so excited and confident about it, and you had to realize you'd earned some clout in the community because you'd made some good calls in golf. So people are like, okay, he's been right about some golf things, and, man, he's really loving the Chargers.
I'll apologize for that because I didn't realize that there was people that were betting on my words. Is that I didn't call for 8 weeks because of the Titans. We saw it, okay? So now I'm not guaranteeing nothing. We know there's no guarantees. Until it's fucking over, once in a while we see something that's a guarantee that can't not win, right? But in general, there's a lot of things that don't go right. It's not a fucking perfect
Well, there's some narratives that are definitely way, way, way stronger than others, and that's where I get confident about things.
You last year when I bet on the Super Bowl, I was like, there's no way they're not winning. I didn't know shit then. I think there's no way the Patriots won't win the fucking Super Bowl.
It was a very easy riddle. It was compared to this year, it was just 1,000 times easier.
But if you go back to our call, and I was new to this, I was like, no, that championship game, we talked about it. I was like, that play is everything. The Tua Tagovailoa that play took a 12-yard loss and all that shit, right?
Right, and it was all synced up with the Patriots in Alabama. Yeah, that's why there was just so many things that connected to that outcome for the Patriots.
And even when you think it's strong, even when I was watching the Masters and seeing Tiger shoot 70 in the first round and all that stuff, you still got a little unease that maybe it's not him. And that's why you can't bet too much.
That was as close as a lock as you get. Tiger Woods winning the Masters.
No, what I'm just saying is always, but you should always be betting. I stopped betting for 20 years because I couldn't beat the system. Okay, and I used to bet way back, and I remember games friends saying, "That's got to be fixed." Now I didn't know at the time when we said that it was actually fixed. We thought it was just we're crazy, right? I remember, I can tell you the game the night it happened that my friend goes, "That game's fixed." We didn't think at the time it was fixed, but it was now. Now I know that, so that's why you can't beat it. But you can't bet crazy.
I agree.
Even with this knowledge. So I apologize to anybody who lost on the fucking Chargers. Unfortunately, if they got the Titans in at some point, maybe they're lucky we win. There's no fucking guarantees. They could lose next week easily. But I won't make any more guarantees if I call. I'll make that vow.
Yeah, you should. Because I always say that. I said never guarantee anything. I said sometimes there's really great riddles that you can have confidence in, but nothing's a guarantee in gambling. I mean, these people hold the cards.
I'll give you this one guarantee. There's very few people that will do more research than me.
Well, I believe that, man. And sometimes you might be digging too deep. Because I think that's how you got so confident about the Chargers.
I learned. It helps you learn because I was talking to Rambo today, talking about how these things might be changing with this whole world and everything. And maybe some of the things they're doing with what we do and try to uncover could change a little bit, right?
We know we're definitely having an impact. It's just like how ESPN took the NHL points off the front of the screen this year in the middle of the season after we're showing every single day how you can pretty much call it like an 80% ratio who's going to win the game based on the points. And the next thing you know, it's not there. And then all of a sudden, after a year and a half of tracking this, they just stopped doing it cold. It's like, okay, something's up.
All right, so I'll keep my call shorter and it's limited, but I won't make any more guarantees. How about that?
Yeah, and that's you are kind of long-winded. I mean, I can be that way too, but if you could condense it and just hit it with a 1-2 punch, that's the way to go.
Long-winded is thorough is a better way to say it.
This is true.
Long-winded doesn't sound good.
This is true, but again,
words matter, right?
Yeah, words matter.
Isn't that we talk about all the time? Words.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a funny story today just because it's funny. Our boy Johnny out Lyon was going to see Dr. Bombay.
Right.
Okay? I go, what do you mean, like Dr. Bombay, like Bewitched? The show. I don't know if you remember the show Bewitched. He was a doctor in the show. I decided to put Bewitched in the fucking Gematria. It matched up with the Chargers in 3 ciphers.
Amazing.
Out of the fucking blue.
Yeah, life's weird.
Like how would you come? And when I saw the numbers, I'm like, those are the Charger numbers. And I'm going to tell you one thing and I'll tell you something I should have called to you. Rivers made a trash talking at a game when they won, and he kept saying 90-yard. And I was like, what's that all about? It matched Tiger perfectly in all 4 ciphers. And that was right before the President's Cup.
Huh. Interesting.
And what happened in the President's Cup? First team to ever come back and win. He goes 3-0. I mean, that was kind of weird, right? Why is he saying 90-yard, making that a thing?
All right. Yeah, that was strange.
And then on top of it, Parsippany is also a perfect match with those 2 phrases. Town by where I live.
Huh.
And that's 54, and Parsippany's 07954.
Interesting.
so, but all right, I'll go.
All right, man. Take care. Okay. But yeah, for people in the chat saying that I shouldn't address the trolls, trust me, guys, the trolls have a huge impact on this work. They are very persuasive to people who don't know better, and they've absolutely sabotaged the community on Patreon because they just live on there and talk shit all day and just write lies and circle jerk each other. Nobody else can even get a word in. Paid for trolls from Russia. At least that's where they might not really be in Russia. Maybe they use like some sort of, what do you call the thing to block your connection? It can make you look like you're anywhere in the world. But, yeah, that's where the traffic comes from. So, anyway, yeah, the trolls who harass all day, they won't call in and argue anything. They'll write bullshit all day, but they don't have any real argument. Let's see. Caller?
They might not really be in Russia. Maybe they use like some sort of, what do you call the thing to block your connection?
Caller, are you just playing my video back through?
Well,
Yeah, you're on. You got to mute the video. And then he hung up. Okay, could be trolling too. Your question about the NBA Finals. We've been tracking some patterns. I know the very first, the opening night of the year on TNT when they have their NBA crew, you know, Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith and whoever else is up there now, all of them picked for the finals. They all picked the same thing. I think the last guy said, oh man, that's what I wanted to pick too, and I think he changed it to one other team, but he even said at the start that he wanted the same thing. But they all picked Lakers and Philly. And if it was Lakers and Philly, that would have to be some sort of Kobe tribute. I still haven't done all my thinking, but we tracked some riddles this year with two of the top teams in each conference, paralleling each other back and forth, and yeah, I still got to do some more work, but you know what I said when LeBron signed with the Lakers? I said why I thought this would be his year with the Lakers, at least this year, at the very least, if he doesn't go to 3 in a row, because he turns 30. Well, he did. He turned 35 years old on December 30th. And remember, King James equals 35. He's 35 years old. That's always been a big number with his career. Remember when he came back from down 3-1 in the finals? He won it on the real King James's birthday, June 19th. June 19th, the real King James's birthday. 619, the number 619, like that date, June 19th. That's the 114th prime number. LeBron James equals 114. And Cavaliers. Again, what Cavaliers were in history were the people who fought for King Charles, who was the son of King James. So King James, King Charles, Cavaliers. LeBron winning on the real King James birthday. It was his 13th season. King James, the king at 13 months. What's up, caller?
Hey, Zach, man, I support all your work, bro.
Well, thank you.
I just called in to tell you, man, this dude, RFG Chosen One, is getting flamed on YouTube, man.
What did he do this year?
This guy said, what did he say? Oh, my God. Everybody, if you go to his comments, man, everybody is roasting him. He said that the Texans was going to win today, and they lost. And yesterday he said, or I guess a couple of weeks ago, he said Baltimore was going to go to the Super Bowl and win, and then they got knocked out. So he's been wrong twice.
Well, that's par for the course with RFG. You know, he's been a big talker over the years. The only thing he's gotten right in about the last 5 years now was the Panthers and Broncos Super Bowl. And you know what? I liked him back then because actually I had the pick out for the Panthers over the Broncos, and I found out about RFG because somebody said, hey, this guy has out the same pick as you. And when I checked out his video, I didn't really think he was copying me. I thought, okay, he's talking about the similar things to me. He seemed all right. But then he started talking all sorts of shit after that, and I tried to reach out to him being older, and I tried to say, you know, like, okay, dude, I don't know why you're talking shit about me. I don't have any beef with you. You know, I'd even mentioned him at the time.
But listen, I don't mean to cut you off, Zach, but listen, this guy charged $100 for people.
Well, that's what he's been doing.
To
so
join his Patreon account and to give out the picks. And now he's wrong, and all these people have paid.
Well, who's paying him? Listen,
account.
Anybody who paid him for any picks deserves what they got. He's been wrong about everything ever since. He's made the stupidest picks. He's made so many public videos over the years saying that my pick's going to be wrong, and it hasn't been wrong. I made the video about him a few years ago. With it was, if you remember at the time, LeBron James had that commercial where he was wearing a silver and black jersey, it looked kind of like the Spurs jersey, and he bent over and his shorts ripped, and you could see his underwear. You remember that commercial with LeBron James?
Yeah.
It was that year. RFG made a video guaranteeing that Gematria was bullshit and LeBron was going to beat the Warriors, and I was saying, no, this is the Warriors' year. And he copied my video saying, well, just watch how wrong he's going to be. I guarantee the Cavs win this year. And then I made that video of him making that remark, and then I had LeBron dribbling down the court with his short splitting. And he was so pissed about that. He still probably heard about that. But anyway, just so many times over the years, he's made some video talking shit about my work, saying I'm going to be wrong. I end up being right. He doesn't apologize. And the other year, what did he say? The other year it was just so easy what the Super Bowl was going to be, and he was making videos about how I was all wrong about the.
You don't make people pay when you give out advice on sports picks, and you don't try to.
Well, exactly.
People organically donate to you because they like your message, man. This guy's costing people thousands of dollars.
But only fools are following RFG. That's my point, though, man.
His picks, bro.
Only a fool would pay him for picks is my point. He has no track record. He hasn't called shit since Super Bowl 50, and he might have copied me on that because he hasn't called jack shit since, and he started a beef with me after that, like almost like he was trying to take credit for my work. I was like, whoa. And he seems like a fraud and a criminal, honestly, man, with his little Masonic compass t-shirt, so... Yeah, no. The other year when we had Patriots and Eagles, he made a video about how we were going to be wrong about that, and he guaranteed, I think he guaranteed it was going to be Buffalo that would win the Super Bowl, and then, like, it was Jacksonville. I was like, yeah, it was Jacksonville who he called after that because that was the AFC Championship. I was like, come on, man, the Bills and the Jaguars and with all this Tom Brady shit, no chance, man. Yeah, he's terrible, man. And who else is terrible is Gary the Numbers guy. Gary the Numbers guy is another fraud, ripping people off. He guaranteed everybody the Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl this year too. And I got to admit, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I was riding the Ravens bandwagon pretty hard from NFL Week 4 on, not because of what anyone else was saying, but because of the year of the black quarterback and things we were documenting. But I never guaranteed the Ravens would win it. I just said they had a strong narrative. I didn't know that they were going to end up being the top seed in the AFC, but yeah, man, there's so many frauds out here.
He's making people pay $100 to listen to his messages, and he's wrong, man. Those people can't get their hard-earned money back.
Well, but again, lesson learned: don't listen to a fool who has a shit track record, because that's RFG chosen one. I mean, his percentage now since Super Bowl 50, because he's been calling all sorts of sports things, and every single thing's been wrong ever since then, and he's had to take several mulligans on several picks. It's just like Gary the Numbers guy. The year that I told everybody the Cubs would win in spring training, he had to go through 4 different teams that year that he said would win, and at the end he took the Indians over the Cubs, and as soon as he was wrong the 4th time, he made a whole website dedicated to talking shit about me, and he also put RFG's face on there and called us both frauds. I was like, get the fuck out of here, man. I'm right about the Super Bowl. I'm right about the World Series all year. You take 4 fucking picks, miss them all. I gave out my pick for free. You charge thousands of dollars for yours, Gary, and you're going to make a website dedicated to me, calling me a fraud? Talk about a JEW.
At least you give people the information, and then you let people do what they want with it. You don't say, oh, this is a lock. This is what's going to happen. You kind of let people make decisions for themselves, man. That's why, me and my friends subscribe to you. We listen to you, man. But this guy, man, like, my roommate has been betting on the Ravens since weeks, like 8, man, and now he's out of $4,000.
That hurts, man. Yeah, it hurts, man.
We're not listening to his picks anymore, bro. Like,
RFG's the worst. Why you guys ever listening to him? I'm telling you, that guy hasn't gotten a fucking thing right since Super Bowl 50, and I'm pretty sure at this point that he took my pick because he's been so off on everything else. It almost seems like a miracle that he could have come up with that for Super Bowl 50 in hindsight.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm not going to talk your head off, man. I just called in to tell you I support you, man. Keep up the good work, Zach.
All right. Appreciate it, man. You take care. Yeah, I mean, I can't brag about anything this NFL season. Throughout the regular season, my picks were okay. I had 2 god-awful weeks like I've never had before. I mean, we still hit the majority of games over the course of the year. But, I did give people some nuggets. I mean, I have some people that are, they've been riding the Titans all year. They could be in for a big pot. We'll see. Caller?
Hey, Zach, I just wanted to touch that. You just reminded me about time, man. Well, that last caller did. Right around the time I was grabbing onto you, I was listening. I was gravitating towards just information, man, about this Gematria was new. And that guy, RFG, the chosen one, he was out there at the same time as you. And when you had made that call about the LeBron James and the Cavs coming back and winning the finals against
the Warriors.
State Warriors.
Right.
Yeah, he was on. I think he was on that bandwagon too. And he had jumped on. I don't know if he had jumped on yours or whatever, but I know after that time period where I think it was Super Bowl 52, where Minnesota was supposed to win that. I think Minnesota was supposed to win that Super Bowl. Am I correct, Zach?
Okay. That was.
And then what happened was, I think the NFL caught on to you. You were plotting. You were plotting the chart, and you were charting what was going on. You were calling the Vikings. And the
So
Vikings
hold on. To go back. RFG and I both had a little bit of a reputation at that time because it was the year before Super Bowl 51, and we'd both gotten media attention for the information we put out on Super Bowl 50. And I had the bigger following between the two of us, and I'd done a lot better work and had a better track record. Not to toot my own horn, but those are just the facts because I'd shown a lot of things about a lot of sports. But before that season began, the year of Super Bowl 51, I was looking at the possibility of the Colts playing a couple of teams. And the first two teams that I actually came up with in the NFC were the Packers or the Falcons, because it was the first year the Super Bowl was on a 44 date. They were the two teams that I knew then that had a 44 connection. I didn't know reverse Gematria back then, but Georgia was 44 and Wisconsin 44. That NFC championship ended up being Falcons and Packers, and the Falcons won with 44 points. But that was the first thing I put out for the NFC, whereas in the AFC, the first thing I put out was the Colts. And then the old Giants white running back died before the Hall of Fame game. I cannot even think of his name right now. But I was like, oh shit, and it was synced with the Super Bowl. And I was like, man, they could do a replay of the greatest game ever played if I'm right about this Colts thing. So I was like, it could be Colts-Giants too, because Giants is 25 like Falcons, and the Super Bowl's on 2-5. And then some people were in my ear about the Vikings, because it was RFG who came out and put out his pick about the Colts and Vikings. And I said, the Vikings maybe like as the fourth potential scenario in the NFC, maybe. But the teams that I had in the NFC from the beginning were Falcons or Packers, and then I was thinking Giants. And actually, the bet I put in that year, what I decided, and I totally... It's funny, when I put in the bet, I stood next to this 6-foot-tall, 6-inch man, probably a former basketball player at some point, who I was talking to in line at the sports book, and he was from Atlanta. And it was like a sign from the universe that I was like, fuck, man. I should have took that as a sign from the universe that I should have put something down on Atlanta. But I was the Super Bowl scenario that I felt the most comfortable with before the season 51 began was Colts and Giants after the death of that Giants player. And the other thing I was looking at, because I was looking at the death of the coach, what was his name? Alinda Mari, who used to coach the Colts and the Packers. But anyway, I hate it because everyone associates my pick that year with Colts and Vikings, and Vikings were not ever my team. I didn't put money on that team. They were the fourth best scenario I gave in the NFC, and I even made a video responding to RFG because he made a video telling people to sign up for his pick. It was going to be right. I was wrong. The Vikings were going to be the Super Bowl team, and I made a video responding to him. I was like, I don't know why you're talking so much shit, dude. You're always trying to talk shit. I said, look, here's some other teams to consider in the NFC, and I did in that exact order. Packers, Falcons, and I just showed how both those teams had the 44 connection. And I said Giants based on this death, and I said the Vikings could be a team because they fit in this way. But again, that's always what it was, but somehow everyone misremembers it that I was the one who put out the Colts and Vikings, which is not what it was.
And I remember his video, I know, see, the thing was at that time, there wasn't a lot of people doing what you were doing, so... I gotta make one more point. I forgot to say the most important point. The thing was, that summer though, because RFG and myself were both in agreement on the Colts, which we were wrong about, that article was written that the most money was ever placed on a football team in the offseason, and it was the Colts, this incredible amount. And I was like, God, how many people are really watching us, man? I mean, if this is true, we obviously had a big impact. So... Exactly. So to go along with what you were saying to that other guy who liked that Chargers and who's on the Chargers, there's a lot of people out here just starving for information, and they're just easily led. And I can see how you feel responsible for putting that out there into the universe about the Chargers. You didn't actually put it out there, but your forum did, and I can see why you would say that to the other guy. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of people out there just starving for information, looking on YouTube for an edge on how to source bet or whatever, and they're just gravitating to RFG for some reason. I'll tell you, his channel is into rotation a lot more than yours.
Well, hold on, man. See, comment like that will just kill me, man. Okay, he's on his first fucking channel. I'm on my 20th channel. How many times have I rebuilt my channel and passed him in subscribers? I just had way more subscribers than he did in September when I was deleted again. So, no, he's not... You're looking at the sports channel, which I don't post on. My latest channel that just got deleted was at 70,000 subscribers again and got deleted. You know, I was over 50,000 subscribers multiple times when RFG was still like at 10. So, I mean, it's not really a pissing contest, but I'm just saying, the reason his channel is more in rotation now is because he hasn't been fucking censored, because all he does is feed people bullshit.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I'm not denying. I'm just saying that's the only reason why he's in more of the rotation, and Google and YouTube are putting him out there, because it's disinformation. And you have to sift. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I just wanted to say the reason why guys like pay $100 for a pick from this guy is because they don't know. They don't know nothing about Gematria, and like you were saying earlier, these trolls are misleading them. I can understand what you're saying now. It's the trolls and all this stuff, but at one time, RFG I thought was on the right side, but then after you guys had a falling out, I remember he made this video that he was in Hawaii in a camping trip or something, and you were calling him on the phone. You remember this stuff?
He was calling me from some phone, wasn't it? Isn't that how it was?
Yeah. Well, his video was totally slanted and giving a whole different opinion of what would happen. But it was entertaining to see him, talk shit.
Well, just remember, he's made like 20 videos about me to date, and I've responded like 2 or 3 times, and every time I just try to act like I'm 10 years older than him, which I am. And again, I just know that he doesn't have any position. It's like, dude, your record is a fucking joke. I've helped a lot of people win a lot.
Yes. Yes, I concur. And once again, I will say if anyone who had followed this whole Gematria situation over the years, from the time we were speaking of till now, we would know that RFG is a fraud and Zach is the man. All right, Zach, take it easy, brother.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, man. And for the record, I don't feel like the man this past year because, it is true that I give out a lot of information for free for the sports content. And again, I charge a very fair amount. I've charged $5 a month for literally hundreds of hours of content and a lot of truly backbreaking work. Because the worst job I've ever worked is this one, sitting in a chair decoding all day. It's not good for you. But I've had a mediocre year this past year charging people. It's like when I was free 3 years ago, I did better work. So that does not feel good to say that. I gave people way more work in the time I've been charging. But if you did something better for free than when you charge for it, that's not going to make you feel good about the work you're doing. And that's also why I'm taking a break right now, just because I just know I've been doing too much. And part of the reason I haven't been as successful this year, I know for sure, is because normally I sit back and absorb the news stories and think about it and do some decoding. And I got to admit, I used to smoke weed. And I really think that smoking weed, which I used to help me, because when I smoke weed, I get good thoughts. And I'm like, oh shit, why didn't I think about that before? Like, for people who think like weed's the loser drug to just like tune out, that's not how it is for me. I smoke some sativa, my brain starts working. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, how am I missing that? Oh yeah, that makes sense. Just like how, like, if you listen to music or watch a movie when you're high, if it's the right strain, like you absorb more, you notice something that you didn't hear before. All of a sudden the lyric makes sense. You're like, oh, that's what they meant. Or you catch the metaphor in the movie that you overlooked before. There's a lot of benefits to responsible drug use, if you will. And is it really fair to call a plant from the earth a drug? I really think of pharmaceuticals and man-made shit when I say drugs. But anyway, I used to smoke weed regularly. I think I used to do better partly for that reason. I'm almost entirely sober now. Sometimes I'll have an edible here or there, but my girl wanted me to stop smoking, and that was a compromise I made for Sweet Lady. She was just so sick of that weed breath. So anyway, but yeah, you just can't fight with your woman every day if you're going to be together, you know what I mean? So, and for anyone who smokes weed, it's like you don't want to be fighting with your lady when you're high, because it's like, okay, this just went from good to now I'm even more annoyed than normal. So, but anyway, this is just real. I seriously think that not smoking weed has caused me to not connect dots like I used to with sports. So, but also grinding every day and not even having time to pay attention to the news stories because you spend all day decoding 30 games and then 30 games the next day. It takes hours to decode games. So, anyway, I gotta reset. I gotta work on this other project right now, finish the book, pray to God it sells. If it sells, I'm gonna hire people, the same people in the community that are helpful, and we'll take it to the next level, because that it's like I plateaued. You don't want to plateau in life. It's like this. It's like I did great. I plateaued, and this year was a reset. It wasn't a horrible year, but it was like down year. Like, ugh. Never had so much trouble with the NFL. Never had so much trouble with the MLB. And anyway, I just know that I have to come at it with a different approach. I need a team of people. I can't be sitting here decoding, doing a 30 hours of... let me think about it. Like every single day, not counting the presentation, not counting about thinking about the games and all the information you decoded, but like every single week, I was probably just like at least 30 hours of straight grunt work. Just alone 30 hours. Just like decoding, copying, printing information. And then you have to go over all this information, and you got to think about it, and you got to make sure you're not missing the riddle. And then you got to present it. You got to do the live stream every day and talk to people about it. Well, I guess you could skip that step, but people like having the live stream conversations. I mean, this is what I've been doing for over a year. And I just realized I'm not as effective this way. Yeah, I'm getting through a lot of stuff. I'm putting out a lot of information, but it's like a quantity and not so much a quality. Well, I wouldn't say that I gave out... Again, it was a pretty good year. By most gambler standards, we did great with the futures. We probably did better than anybody else on the planet, let's be real. I mean, we dominated a lot of things. But even still, it took me too many tries to figure out the World Series. At the beginning of I don't even want to jinx anything with the NFL, but my second favorite scenario that I gave out for the NFL Super Bowl, those two teams are still alive. So, I mean, it might not be all is lost this NFL season, but normally I can nail it and see which teams it is and not have to say, well, you can take this scenario and maybe this scenario, because that's how this year's been. And, but again, I always teach people, nothing's a guarantee. It's about following the information. It's about being smart. It's about being the tortoise. And, I've had some falling out with some people that are in this community that support it. The gentleman who called in earlier this year, I did get mad at him one day. Some of you guys might have been listening to that live stream. I don't mean to offend him, but I said, come on, man. You've won a lot already gambling this year. We just won. You're calling in for another pick. I mean, can't we just chill out for a minute? I know you got kids. I mean, spend time with the kids. I understand how that can be offensive, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I still remember what I said because that's honestly what had been on the back line so many nights talking to that man. And, I'm trying to help him out. I know he means well. I don't want to give too much of his life. I know a tragedy he went through in his life recently. I mean, I really care about this person, but at the same time, I'm trying to help him out. But every single night, like literally he's stressing me out because he's calling just like at all hours for more information. It's just like, God, man, I'm already putting in all these hours a day. I charge you guys $5 a month and you're calling me at the middle of the night asking for more. It's just like, and then the way I am, it's like I feel the pressure, It's like I want to help this person, He wants this. I know that he's going through a tough time. I want to help him out. But God, is gambling every fucking day, every single minute, the ticket? And then I got to be real too, man. There were some games where like I would we'd have a great day. I'd give him all these games. I'd give 9 college football games. We'd go 8 for 9. And then he's calling me about some more obscure game, like that's hard to read, and he's like really wants to put money down on it. I'm just like, dude, we got 9 games that look good here. Why are we looking at this 10th obscure game? Why are you calling me? And again, man, I know he's probably listening right now. Listen, man. Again, I love you, but I'm telling you just how it is for me so people understand. It's like, okay, I give you 9 picks today. I know these picks are going to be fucking good, and they are. But now we're looking. Why am I having to look at this game now, man? Why do you need me to look at this game between these teams that aren't even major schools? And I mean, it's hard to get the information for this. I mean, like, why? But that's how it is, and it's not just him. It's other people calling in, and one guy always calls from an anonymous phone number. He speaks in this monotone voice. I know he means well, but he's always got 500 fucking questions, and it's just like, dude, I just finished the live stream for 3 hours. 'Cause, I mean, this is how it's been for me the last year and a half, doing 2 3-hour live streams, and then I get off and I have this number and more people are calling for even more shit. It's just like... So anyway, it's just not worth it, man. I just realized that this is the gambler energy for so many people. It never ends. It's just 24/7, 365. You can't win enough. And, again, one gentleman won a ton of money, and then he just, it's like me, if I win a bunch, I'm not going to gamble for a long time. I'm just going to be like, you know what? I won a bunch. Let's just sit back and chill out. Let's not do the stress and anxiety of this every day. But, one gentleman, he was way up, and he was just so grateful. And, over the course of a few days after he's won all this money, there's days where I do a live stream. And I'm like, we're looking at all these games, but even though there's 20 games here, there's only like 3 or 4 that have decent riddles. There's just too many. I said, today's a good day to chill out. And then what am I getting later in the day? I'm getting text messages. Because, I'm like, yeah, even these games, I'm just take. But, I explain that. And then I get text messages from people. Man, Zach, I tried to go with, the Baltimore upset today. I was feeling it. I went big on it. I won so much, and I dropped 10 grand. And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. So you won 30 grand, and tonight you just had to go out and put 10 grand on the long shot Orioles? I mean, come on, man. This isn't money management. $30,000 fucking dollars is a lot of money. I live in a community right now where, the average income, and it's because I live in a town that's an agricultural town. It's a lot of illegal immigrants. It's a lot of poor Mexicans, nice people, but they're not making jack shit. The average person makes $20,000 a year here, slaving their ass off working in a field all year. It's like I live in think about it. So $30,000, these people would just kill for $30,000 because they're working their ass off all year for $20,000. And, you just won this? Great. Are you really going to go put $10,000 down on the Orioles that, do pay 5-1 tonight, but, man, are a pretty goddamn long shot? There is a riddle there, but is this a $10,000 bet? So, it's just... That's why I hate it. It's like, God, I'm trying to help these people, but these people can't help themselves. Maybe put $100 down on the Orioles. $10,000? Come on, man. Because they wanted to win $50,000 more that night. And then the gambler mentality is the next day, they're like, oh, fuck, here's another long shot. I can get all back today. Lose again. Now your $30,000's down to $10,000. Oh, I'm going to get it back tonight. Oh! All $30,000 you just made's gone because you wanted to take these long shot riddles. It's just, and I just know that people who follow me do this because I get to read their messages and their sorrows, and I'm just like, well, I never told you to put fucking $10,000 on that shit. I preach every day, tortoise and hare. Be smart. If you hit hard and get way up, go back to conservative. Because that's the thing. A lot of people who win big on me, they don't even bet a lot. A lot of you know the voice of the gentleman, Well, I don't want to give too much. You recognize his voice. He's called in for years to the radio show. But I think I even showed some of his slips this year. He turned $5 into over $3,000. He turned $25 into over $10,000. That's what you can do with this knowledge. You can hit on huge parlays. I'm not exaggerating. He turned $25 into over $10,000 on a parlay using this knowledge. $5 into over $3,000. That's the way I like people to bet with this knowledge. Not bet the moon, but be like, okay, there's some good long shots here. You put these teams together in a parlay. You only got to bet $10 on it to get a nice big payout, like literally enough to pay for a vacation. And I get those text messages too, which is nice, and that's when I feel good. But then it's like, God, man, this guy who was in Cloud 9 the other day is now, at the bottom of the bottle. So... And again, I just realized that I can't help these people because it's like they want to win. They want to use the knowledge, but they're not actually listening to the real advice I'm giving them about money management and being smart and taking breaks and not going crazy on a long shot, In the last year, the only long shot that I got people real excited about, and the reason I was real excited about it is because the narrative was so good. The best riddle, in the last 6 months that I can think of that paid a lot, that looked just so good, was the Browns beating the Ravens in Baltimore as they did earlier this year. Again, that's because it was just a rock-solid riddle that connected the history of those teams, because, again, the Ravens used to be the Browns. There was a lot to it, and you only get those kind of riddles so often, but... Anyway, I'm just ranting now. Waiting to see if any trolls called in. I'm sure they're too busy trolling on the wall right now, talking shit. But, don't get taken by frauds. There's a lot of frauds in this community. And, again, just beware if you sign up for my Patreon right now for sports picks. I'm only doing the NFL season right now. It's almost down. So, again, I'm gonna stay away from the daily picks until I'm done rewriting the book and I got it to the publisher and my hands are all washed of it. And I anticipate that's going to be about the end of February. That's my goal. and then I will get back to daily picks. But for those of you guys who still support while I'm gone, I'm very grateful for that. Again, all the money helps for this cause. Again, my goal is to help unite the community, and I think I've proven that. I just opened up that Free to Find Truth website. That's an expensive project to try and help people organize and communicate. And for those of you guys who are into sports, if you go to freetofindtruth.com, again, that's the social media website for truth seekers. There's people on there sharing sports shit every day. There's a forum for sports stuff. So, I mean, there's a community of people you can work with for free and learn from others. But, yeah, anyway, I just got to finish some projects that should have been done a while ago. And again, for me, it is a money thing right now because I want to hire people. I want a team of people to help me out. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to go to the sports games. I want to be able to go to the news sites and get the word out about this. Trying to change the game here. Here, let's take a call from Montana real quick.
Hi, Zach. It's Austin.
What's up, man?
Don't feel too bad about this year with the NFL. I mean, you have an amazing track record, and well, the Chiefs and the Packers is still very possible.
I'm not saying anything, but no, I hear you, man. I mean, I do have a good track record. It's just I have high standards, and I haven't met my standards this NFL season. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I thought it would be Saints and Colts at the beginning of the season, but then Andrew Luck retired.
Right. Once that retirement happened, that was a hard scenario to believe in anymore. But the numbers were there to believe in it before. And then we did see that there was a big riddle with the Saints and Colts this year because for people who don't know, part of what I was talking about is the date the Saints and Colts met and how it was synced up with the Super Bowl. Remember what happened in that game this year? Drew Brees set those records, passing Peyton Manning, who played for the Colts, and of course his father played for the Saints. So I knew there was something special about that game, the way it was structured. It ended up being all about that.
Yep, exactly. I told a couple of my friends that Drew Brees will set the touchdown record in that game, and they were asking like, how come I was so sure about it? But it just made sense. Well, Manning's old team, the Colts, it just made sense.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
But then after Luck retired, and then the Ravens were doing well, and then I was thinking, well, maybe Saints Ravens because the Colts used to play from Baltimore.
Sure. Yeah.
But Chiefs and Packers, I had that as another option.
It would be the Bart Starr Super Bowl. He was the MVP of the Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl 1. So, all right, appreciate it, Austin. Good thoughts, man.
What do you think about that comeback though today?
Well, like I said, it was a tribute to Super Bowl 51, which the Texans hosted. That was a 25-point comeback. Today it was a 24-point comeback. So,
I mean,
I guess it was actually, now that I think about it, I guess in a way it was a 25-point comeback because they were down 24 points, weren't they? So it's just like the Super Bowl 51 25-point comeback. So, yeah, they're just paying tribute to that.
And it was such a joke. Well, why would you go for a fake punt on your own, 30 or was it 25-yard line? It's like, you gotta, to think that these games are real, you gotta think that these coaches are just brain dead.
Exactly. So I'll tell you a weird thing that happened to me yesterday. I was in this pho restaurant, and I hadn't been in there since December of 2018. It was right after Bush died. I just remember that for a number of reasons, but it was primetime football in this pho restaurant. And when I went in there that night, I remember I'd liked the Titans that night. The Titans dominated that game. Derrick Henry had a huge game. I think it was December 2018. But I go into this pho restaurant last night, not even thinking about it, because I don't even have cable right now. But anyway, on the TV is the Titans, and they're up big on the Ravens. And I'm like, this is so weird. The last time I was in here, the Titans were on the TV, and they were up big on an opponent, and here they are doing it to the Ravens again. But anyway, I wasn't really watching the game because the TV was behind me the way I was sitting. But when I went to pay the bill, I was looking at the screen, and it was the play. The Titans were up 14-6. And it was 4th and about an inch for the Ravens down in the Titans' territory. Do you remember this scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is impossible not to get the first down with Lamar Jackson. He can sneak it for an inch easy. He has all the athleticism in the world. He could easily just jump into the pile and easily get that inch. But what play do they call for him? For him to run backwards and to the side? I mean, get the fuck out of here. There's just no way that any coach is ever going to call such a stupid fucking play when you have a guaranteed first down. But you see this shit. The new thing in the NFL, too, is in like 4th and a foot situation to call a shotgun. I mean, how often does this happen in the NFL now? It's like, get the fuck out of here. Shotgun on 4th and a foot? It's such a joke, man.
And then the Ravens were 8 for 8 all year on 4th and 1, and they go 0 for 2 last night.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's all scripted bullshit, and people should catch on to things like the death of the Titans coach right before the playoffs start, and Mike. So anyway, all right, I appreciate it, man. You take care.
All right, thanks, Zach. You too.
All right, see you. Yeah, and it's so good to not watch the games because again, the games are just meant to fuck with you. They are meant to just like steal your energy. If you guys got here late, the beginning of the video, I talked about how the NFL fucks over the fans, how it plays with their energies and their emotions. So if you try to watch this live stream when I'm done, just beware that YouTube normally for like an hour to a half hour doesn't show the beginning of the video. But if you look at it like in an hour or tomorrow, the whole video will be there. So. Here's the biggest Titans fan in the world. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, my friend? How you feeling tonight? I missed most of what's going on, so could you just clue me in? I'll go back.
Well, I was just talking about how the NFL plays with the energies of the fans to start, and then we talked about some other stuff. We talked about the Edelman story and the shooting story from the offseason. But I was just making the point in the beginning how both games today had very similar narratives. Huge leads at the beginning, but different outcomes. The Texans give up their huge lead. The Packers hang on to their big lead to barely beat the Seahawks. And I went back to that moment at the beginning of the season. You probably remember me talking about this. The Seattle Saints game, the first game with Teddy Bridgewater in there after Drew Brees' fake injury. But they showed the highlight to the Seahawks of the Beastquake. Seahawks versus Saints in the playoffs years ago. And they showed that highlight, and as soon as the highlight ended, Oh, I realized I fucked this up when I told this story earlier. I forgot to tell the most important part of it. But anyway, okay, so here it is. So they showed that highlight, Marshawn Lynch, Beastquake, and then as soon as the highlight ends, and I mean not even a skip of a beat, as soon as the highlight ends, it comes out of it, and the Seahawks are handing off the ball to, I believe, Carson, their running back, and he has a 33-yard run where at the end of the run, the defender punches out the ball. The Saints pick it up and run it back for a defensive touchdown. So this huge momentum swing from this great highlight to this great run, the longest run of the Seahawks season, to a defensive touchdown that now makes the game all of a sudden a big lead when it would look like the Seahawks were driving to rally. And I told this at the beginning, but I fucked up because I forgot the most important part of the story. So the Seahawks' very next drive, Russell Wilson scores a rushing touchdown. And the announcer in the screen immediately puts up the stat. Russell Wilson's first rushing touchdown since whatever date it was. But right away I plug that in and I go, oh my God, look at that. Russell Wilson's last rushing touchdown was exactly 666 days ago. 666, the number of the beast. And they just showing you the highlight of the Beastquake. And again, beast equals 47, like Seattle's on the 47th parallel. But I was like, look at how they're just fucking with the fans. This game's a mind fuck. It's meant to drain their energy. Now you get this trip. They're talking about the Beastquake. Russell Wilson goes in for his first rushing touchdown in 666 days. I mean, it's just...
It's a mind screw. And I'll tell you what, brother. I just got on my motorcycle today. I went along the beach because sometimes you put too much time, too much energy into this. And like we've had a discussion before, you get to a point of diminishing returns. You just got to go reset. And I did hear you talking a little bit about that. So do what you got to do, brother. I'm with you. I got your back. I'll be looking forward to. When are you going through their next decode on the NFL, sir?
Tomorrow morning. Well, for you early afternoon. You're on the East Coast. Around 1 or 2 p.m. your time.
And real quick, sir, what are you feeling mostly? Who you're leaning towards. I know it's been a difficult year, but I tell you what, you're still unbelievable with this stuff.
Well, even though we're down to 4 teams, I still got to do my homework. I got one scenario left that I gave out at the beginning of the season that can hit. The dark horse team is still there, the Titans. But, I still got to do some more brain scanning on it because, it's fucking hard. The whole Packers and Chiefs thing's there, but again, Shanahan, the Super Bowl's 50 days after his birthday. San Francisco and Chiefs is 50. It's the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. It's like, this year, man, just everything is so tight, so...
What do you think about that thing that I told you earlier? I know I've been on the Titans for a while now, me and my buddies, with this Chuck Merriweather being dying, 100 days before the Super Bowl.
Well, that again, the last 2 years we've tracked very clear connections between the World Series and the Super Bowl, and in a lot of the years we've connected the connection with the Royal Rumble in the WWE. Again, this year the Royal Rumble's in Houston. World Series just lost with Houston, and
Houston Oilers.
And
what happened?
Exactly.
The founder of the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans are the old Houston team. Right. And the NFL season began with the weird Andrew Luck story, who has all the Houston connections, retiring on Vince McMahon's birthday, who runs... So, yeah, there's definitely something about Houston, and the Titans are the team that are obviously carrying the Houston tradition. So, it's not out of the question. Mike Vrabel said he'd cut off his dick. We're in the era of all this transgender stuff. Again, the death of the... remember the...
Yeah, my buddy out there in Arizona caught that. That was great, man. Fine, man. We find some good stuff, man. But listen, get some rest, bro. I know you've been working overtime, and if you got to do an edible or two here, you got to do what you got to do, man. That makes you feel better. And if it's clearer, bro, it's all good, man. It is a plan. So just peace out, brother. I'm glad I was able to clear my head for a few hours because this does become consuming, man. It can overwhelm you in that. To me, I'll never be overwhelmed because I got a spirit that transcends this world. And I know you do too, brother. So keep the peace and look forward to listening to that decode. What time you going? Your time? You're thinking tomorrow?
My goal is to start at 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 Eastern, so.
All right, partner. Peace out.
All right.
Ciao, ciao.
All right, I'll see you, man.
Bye-bye now.
Yeah, so anyway, I've been on here longer than I meant to. I wish I got this right at the beginning, though, because I think I forgot to say the whole thing about the Beastquake in 666 days. I know I did a video on it earlier this year, but this is supposed to be at the beginning. Caller?
Hey, Zach.
Yeah?
Leroy Kincaid in Philadelphia. How you doing?
What's up, man?
Listen, 4 weeks ago, okay, I've been following you for like a year now. 4 weeks ago, it was Dallas playing Detroit, okay? I watched the whole game. Fourth quarter.
Hold on. Before you go any further, I have a very vivid memory from this game, and I just want to see if you're going to say the same thing as me. So back when this game was going on where the Lions got ripped off, there was this popular commercial for Dodge, and the Dodge commercial, the Dodge logo turned into the Star of David. And maybe you were talking about something totally different, but they showed that commercial this was at the same time the Cowboys were about to start their comeback against the Lions. So they ended with that commercial, and then they came back and they were showing the sun over the Texas desert, and they put this like some sort of graphic on the sun. So the sun, instead of looking like like how we normally the sun with the bright rays coming off, they made it into the Star of David, which also kind of looks like a sheriff's badge, and it's the Lone Star State. But it was like perfect because it was from the Dodge commercial with the Star of David to the Texas sun with this graphic over it to make the sun the shape of the Star of David. And then right from there, this game just got totally lopsided and the Cowboys came back and beat the Lions. But anyway, when you said that, I was just like, oh, God, I remember that. Is that what you're going to say, or are you talking about something different?
No, that wasn't what I was going to say, but what I did see was the first time I ever saw it and watching football since I was a little kid. Okay, so it was the end of the game, like 5 minutes left. Detroit is at like the 5-yard line. They're going in. Okay, the score is 35-21. Detroit scores. The score is now 35-27. 5 minutes left in the game. 35-27. Detroit, instead of taking the extra point, right, keep it within 7, they go for a 2-point conversion. 5 minutes left, losing by 7. They're going for a 2-point conversion. I'm like, why the fuck are they doing this? Why wouldn't you just kick the fucking extra point and then go from there? And of course, they didn't make the 2-point conversion. That was the final score. score was 35-27, and the point spread was 7.5.
Huh. Perfect.
It's so fucked up. It was so obvious. I was sitting here, and I was watching by myself. I was like, yeah, I wish somebody was sitting here next to me. And I said, watch this. And you're going to tell me this is normal NFL, play. I mean, it's just uncalled for. I told my friend, I said, why would any team go for a 2-point conversion when they're down by 7, and all I got to do is just 5 minutes left, kick the field goal, and, get the ball back with 5 minutes left, and let it be what it may. But, 5 minutes left, they threw the game away.
I completely hear you. I don't know how anyone thinks that sports are real is stupid and just nonsensical. And I mean, the Super Bowl 51 was the worst Super Bowl ever. I don't know how anyone bought an NFL ticket after that Super Bowl. It was impossible for the Falcons to lose in the situation. They had to do exactly.
That last field goal, I mean, that fucking ball turned midair and took a right.
Yeah.
To go through the fucking, and it was just like in that Eagles game too. They kicked the field goal. They called a timeout. It didn't count. It went through. This is last year, not this past year, the season before. And then Eagles in Chicago went into overtime. Then they kicked the ball again with no time left to Eagle. The ball went up, and you remember, it hit the side post and it went down to hit the bottom post and bounced out. Well, let me tell you what. If that didn't look like there was a magnet on there, that ball hit that post, and it looked like it just stopped. And then it just fell down. And then it bounced on the crossbar. And of course, it bounced out. And it just looked like there was like a magnetic field around it. It was not going to let that ball go through.
Indeed.
And I believe it.
Well, there's no doubt about it. They're using technology. I mean, there's been countless examples that we talked about. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, between some of the college basketball, and here's the other thing: when people say like the basketball, it's magnetized or something, whatever. Okay, I just say go back to this if you don't think it is. 99 out of 100 of those full court, half second left in the game, Hail Mary shots, 99% of them are swishes. You ever see any of them hit the backboard and go in, or the top of the backboard and go out? They're almost all swishes.
Well, the backboard factors in too. However their technology works, it does work with the backboard. Some of them are backboard shots, but you are right, a lot are swishes, no doubt about it.
Yeah, so anyway, all right, dude, that's the first time I called up. I've been writing to you for a while, so I appreciate all your advice, man. I'm going heavy on Clemson tomorrow, man. I'm going to hook that up with everything down at the casino, see what goes.
All right, man, good luck.
Hey, thank you.
All right, take care. Yeah, see, I'd forgotten about this, but him saying Lions, Cowboys, I was like, God, this has got to be what he's going to talk about. I made a big deal about this at the time. Again, this is exactly how it was. This Dodge Brothers commercial turns into the Star of David. You come back directly after that commercial. This is exactly how they did it. The Sun over Texas. Look at the graphic that they did to the Sun. You can see it's Fox NFL. I was like, holy shit, look at this, man. People are going to think that's the Lone Star right after this Dodge Brothers commercial with the Star of David. And the Lions were in control of the game at this point. And Dallas came back and won that game. Let me go back and see what the score of that game was. Lions, Cowboys, wild card. Must have been 2015. Caller?
Hey, what's going on, Zach? How you doing?
What's up, man?
Just a couple things I'd like to discuss. The last two NCAA championship games was a 1 seed versus a 3 seed, right?
Okay.
Virginia 1 seed, Texas Tech 3 seed. The year before that, Michigan 3 seed, Villanova 1 seed.
Okay.
Last year, what in the NFL, what did we see? Two seeds, correct? Patriots 2 seed, Rams 2 seed.
I'm trying to remember. The Saints were the 1 seed last year. Who was the 1 seed in the AFC? Chiefs. That's right. Yeah, because that's right. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so we could very well see, another back-to-back 2 versus 2, just like in college basketball they went a 1 seed versus a 3 seed and then 1 versus 3.
And it would be on 2-2. That's actually something I was thinking about. 2-2
yeah.
Super Bowl, 2 seeds. Yeah, it could be. So.
Yeah, and then at the end of the Packers game, Aaron has the winner hat on, and it's, has the date of 1919 when they came into, their first season.
The name Aaron, by the way.
2019 season.
The name Aaron, by the way, does equal 22, and again, Aaron Rodgers is 63, and the Super Bowl's on his 63rd day of his age. So yeah, these are all good points.
Did you watch those games tonight or no?
I haven't had cable for like a month. I haven't seen any games for a while.
Gotcha.
I like not watching them.
I talked to you before, and I mentioned the fact of they're pumping these State Farm commercials out, and in the State Farm commercial, Aaron is wearing a red jersey, and Patrick Mahomes is wearing a white jersey, which if they meet in the Super Bowl, that's like Aaron would have the white one on, and Pat Mahomes would have a red one on. It's like they flip the jerseys, you know?
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Appreciate it, man. Good points.
Yeah. So, and then another thing is another little trick that I've used over the last 2 decades is white jerseys have dominated in the Super Bowl. So, to me, if you're wearing a white jersey and you're playing in the Super Bowl, off of that, you have about an 80-85% chance of winning it.
Good observations. Huh.
So, I know it's a lot more difficult this season. I mean, I've realized that, watching the Saints drop in the first round. You know what I mean? It's wild, but just keep plugging.
Hey, did you take the insurance bet on Minnesota though? Because I told everybody if you're riding the Saints, you better put some insurance on Minnesota because that 52 was there and that was a big payout.
Yeah, I know. I did see that there, and then I left it alone. It is what it is, But another thing is, though, dude, what I'll be honest with you, I clean up at on these offshore sites. You can bet on WWE just like you could bet on like the new Star Wars movie before that released. You could have bet on like prop bets of all the stuff that's going to happen in there. Dude, I came across this actual script that was leaked from the movie, and I watched a video on YouTube on it. And it was to a T what the movie was. So if I would have placed every single wager, I would have won on all of them on the prop bets.
Hey, that reminds me, there's another future I hit this year that people forgot about. I told people months in advance, before that last season of Game of Thrones started, that it was going to be the blind kid. He had the best narrative to be the winner.
Nice.
So,
yeah, you're right. He did have great odds.
Everyone thought that was my sweet lady thought, no way is it going to be him. I said, trust me, all the numbers are perfect for that kid to be the one. And sure enough.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that was something we got outside of sports was the Game of Thrones winner. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
I have a blessed one.
All right, see you. Yeah, I don't see the trolls talking about that either. We did nail Game of Thrones before the season began. This Cowboys and Lions game that did the Star David thing, just when you know Gematria, you can see why the score is what it is. You see how the Cowboys won with 24 over the Lions. Lions is 24, and see how there's 44 combined points? Here it is. Lions 24. Remember how this year on Thanksgiving, the two Lions and Cowboys games, both teams ended up 6-6. Thanksgiving is 66, and I forget, there was something to the other game with the 66 too, but anyway, Lions 24, and then Detroit's 44. Caller?
Hi, Zach.
What's up?
Hi, I'm watching your show, and I've been kind of connecting some things in my own experiences, if you will, with my date of birth on the numerology chart. It's 6/29/1981, and a significant date with that same numerology is December 23rd, 1998. That date in my life, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. I had a near-death experience, and coming to learn in these last 2 or 3 years about some of these dates and some of these SRAs, if you will, it's kind of creepy, like, these numbers and sacrifices made by the numbers, and it's like these 2 dates totally match, and it's kind of creeping me out because I just learned this while I was looking just at different dates in my life, and I have way more information than that about myself. Okay, so my date of birth is 6/29, and my name is Paula, and 51 is Paula, and 6/29 is the date that I was born, and my zip code is 62951. It's so trippy. Well, get this, I just figured out today that the time of my birth is 3.14 times 3, 3, which is 9:42 a.m. And it's just like, holy shit. You know, I'm sorry to cuss, but it's just like a trip to me, all these numbers. And my brother, he's my half-brother, he was born on the 51st day of the year, February 20th, 1983. Just so many different numbers. I married my husband November 11th, 2011. I think that leaves like 50 days in.
Okay.
So, anyway, just some real significant numbers. My grandmother's name is Marlene, and it's said that Marlene is like, I don't know if I'm using the right term here, like a conjunction of Mary and Magdalene. Anyway, I'm not saying my grandmother is Mary Magdalene. I just have learned so much here in just words and numbers and dates and so many different things. I typed in my name.
Ma'am, I really appreciate it. I don't mean to be rude, but you know I've been on for a long time, and I'm trying to have I know people want to call in and share stuff. That's kind of what my Wednesday night radio show is about. But when I get on and talk about a topic, I appreciate when people call in about that actual topic. You know what I mean?
I understand it. It's taken me a long time to get up enough courage to even call you.
Okay, well, you know what? Since you're saying that, you know what? It's near the end of the show. Please continue on then.
Okay, well, I typed in my name, my married name, and it adds up to 999 in Jewish Gematria. It's just a trip to me. I would have graduated in 99 had I, finished school, and that wreck that I was in, of course, happened when I was 17, so I hadn't quite graduated. And a lot of significant things have happened, but I don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate everything that you do, and I hope everyone has a good night.
All right. Thank you so much. You take care. All right. Call me on Wednesday. You have a good night. Okay, and her just bringing up the point about 99 in high school, I just have to say something. Did you guys see that there's a news story about a shooting in Mexico, and the shooter was inspired by some video game called Natural Selection? Do you know what they're doing with that bullshit? That's the Columbine shooters, because they had the shirt on with the Natural Selection, and I forget what the other one had, some other Darwinian thought. But it's just like... I'm sure if I look into that Mexico story and decode it, I'm sure there's all sorts of numbers that point to Columbine. Just like how this past year we had the woman who was enthused with Columbine and they had to lock down like every school district in Colorado. And then she was found dead naked in the woods, as if that makes sense. Hold on, let's take one last call and wrap it up here. What's up, Victor?
Hey, what's going on, Zach?
What's up, man?
Tough NFL season, Zach. Definitely very confusing.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's the season from hell. So.
Yeah, I know it's been interesting with everything going on, but if I can, I just wanted to say something about that gentleman, the Chargers guy. Not anything crazy, but I don't really remember his name.
I actually don't know his name either. I just know his voice.
Okay, yeah. So what I wanted to say was, there was generally no problem. I don't have no problem with that guy. But it was kind of just like the aggressive kind of nature. I don't know if he has short-term memory, but he kind of was taunting that Chargers team.
Oh, he totally did, man. He did. It was over the top because it was like every day for a long time, and it was like I guarantee it. There's no way it doesn't happen, and I'll bet all you guys, and I'll pay all your favorite charity. And I mean that's why it's like okay, because he keep bringing up like how people are mad at him, but now it's really good because he figured out the Titans like. Okay, we never called in and said anything about the Titans, but you did sell everybody the Chargers. And I kept telling me, I was like, it's interesting, but man, I just don't know about the Chargers this year, so... Anyway.
It's not just that, like, the passion is great. Everybody appreciates the passion. And I think generally no one person is going to, like, even though you've proven that one person can solve it, you know what I mean? But normally, with how crazy it's been, the more amount of people getting together and doing this makes more sense. But he also was name-dropping Rambo when he was referencing stuff, who's also very credible. So to assume that nobody was going to take that information when he was saying, oh, you can bet the house on and blah, 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 I kind of like assume it's kind of like dumb.
Sure, man. I mean, he called in a lot. It was like he was really trying to sell it. And see, that's why I was saying you should apologize for that, because, I mean, you did, like, call in, like, every day for weeks just telling everybody, like, Chargers are it. It's Chargers all the way. It can't be anybody else. And I was just like, I mean, I kind of let it go on, but every time he did it, I was like, I don't know, man. I know you're really on it, but I just don't know about the Chargers. So.
Yeah, no, but, you know, I just thought he kept bringing up my name, so I just kind of wanted him to know, like, there's no bad blood or anything like that. Like, everybody's doing the information, you know, it's validated, so it's not like a versus anything, kind of like me versus anything like that, bro. It has nothing to do with that, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And I think it was good that we talked about
I
tonight.
never called nobody out, Zach. You know, I never come across like that or anything like that. And even when I've never said anything about it, like, he continues to, like, say something about it. So I just want to say, bro, you know, we're all in here for the same reason, and he's very passionate, you know, so that's appreciated, you know, but just it's not about, you know, even pounding your chest when you get it right. Like, that's not the first thing to do, you know what I mean? The Titans were one of the first 4 teams that you had to identify before the season started as the 54. So even to get it right now, it's not like you're the first person who said the Titans.
Right. And you know, I didn't sell the Titans real hard, but I know exactly what I said at the beginning of the season. I had a good prediction about the Titans. I said they're a dark horse team. I said I like that they got Tannehill. I said I bet anything Tannehill takes the starting job this year. He's from Miami. The Super Bowl's in Miami. Could be a playoff team this year. Super Bowl, though, just seemed like such a dark horse, even knowing that narrative about Mike Vrabel saying cutting off his dick. But I do got to admit, man, when that remember the Titans coach died right before the start of the playoffs, that did have my eyebrows up, and I was just like, God, really? Is it going to be this, man? There's so many narratives this year. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, there definitely is a narrative there. I think long term, whatever is in play is going to happen, but I think now it's kind of to the point where the leagues, there's so much money behind it and so much control with the media that they're able to put out specific things right now to kind of take us off track. That's what I think is going on.
Well, there's just no doubt about it. We saw it the other year. The other year when I really liked the Patriots and Eagles, a lot of people thought that when Carson Wentz got hurt, the Eagles had no chance, even though I said, I'm sticking with Nick Foles, man. The odds are even better now. He's got the right everything. But that year, what took a lot of people off the Eagles was a story that came out around the same time, and it was about Matt Ryan giving birth to twins, and it was synced up with the date of the Super Bowl, and everyone was like, well, that could be like twins, 2 Super Bowls back-to-back, and the Eagles just lost their player, and they're another bird team. And this is the way everyone started, not everyone, but a lot of people who were following me started thinking, and they were in my ear that I was wrong about the Eagles, and it was going to be the Falcons. I was like, I'm sticking with the Patriots and Eagles, man. The narrative's solid. But, yeah, that is what they're doing. So.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, I always appreciate generally the work first before any of the sports thing. And I understand what you were saying, that people could definitely be, like, here for the wrong reasons. And that gambling aspect definitely takes control of people. So.
Oh, I know it does, man, because I'm the one that's, like, I wish I had another live stream where I just had a camera going here all season answering people's phone calls, and it's just like, this needs to be the behind-the-scenes YouTube video. So.
Yeah, I can only imagine what that looks like, Zach, like the behind-the-scenes stuff. I know it's got to be even crazy. You know, everybody wants to have access to you offline to kind of get their ideas across and be a friend, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's how it's been for over a year, because I sit here and do the thing all day, and then I answer the calls all day, and some people really call every fucking minute. Like, it's just like, okay, you're kind of abusing the number, man. Like, come on, man. Not this many calls a day. So.
Yeah, there's got to be a long-term goal behind that, behind this, at the end of the day, like you preach all the time, so.
Yeah.
Definitely, Zach, I just wanted to say hello, and have a good night.
All right, keep up the good work, Victor. Take care, man. And again, for the people on my Patreon, I linked Victor's page, I linked Rod's page. I'm happy to link a few other people's page if they get the information to me, but they've taken over the daily decoding. I'm happy to give them as many of my people who want to just continue on with the daily decoding. I trust Victor and Rod to do the work. I know they work hard and have good minds. And again, they're 2 people who I'd like to hire. I'm hoping that when I finish this book, it's going to sell right. I keep messing around with the tone of the book. Sometimes I think the book just needs to be a rant, but then I'm worried if it's just ranting Because it's like, this stuff does need to be ranted at the world, man. But because some people like the rant energy and it's more entertaining and funny. But I realize if I write it that way, some people will be like, okay, I can't do this. This is too much. Maybe I need to write 2 books with the same message but delivered different ways. Anyway, let's wrap it up. Been on for too long. And do appreciate all the people who support. Till next time, Truth Seeker.